And we are live. Welcome to a week 3 edition of Ballin In Da Boot. I'm your host, Jace, LeJeune. I'm joined with me, as always, Allison, who is our other high school football beat writer, and Tulane beat writer as well. So myself and Alex come in for the third show. Second in a row. We are live here on Facebook. We had 2 great shows starting off. Had a lot of coaches coming on as well. And we're going to talk some high school football. We don't know exactly what's fun about the show, Alex. We have no idea what to expect. We don't know. We don't know how many coaches are coming on. We start off the bat with Catholic head football coach Hudson Fuller starting off. So you don't know what we're going to start off with. So we'll try to get a couple of coaches. If not, it's all right. We got some interviews with some coaches. I talked to Coach Dwain Jenkins and Coach Hudson Fuller. We'll play those interviews if we don't have any coaches come in. But we'll talk a lot of scores. And, we were just going to talk about some games. Appreciate everybody that is tuning in right now. If you have some comments, if you want us to talk about a team or talk about a score, feel free to comment below. Myself or Alex will see those comments. So go support your team. Highlight the team that, you want to say, hey, our team won tonight. Give us a final score. Give us an update, and we'll talk about. So those will be the games we'll talk about first, is the games that you bring up. But as I'm going to try to talk to some coaches and text some coaches to hop on, we're going to talk about Alex's game first that he went to tonight. We get a lot of people saying that we need to go and cover some games in the Houma area. Alex, you happen to be in the area, and you're like, what will be a good game on the dock for week 3? And I would say you picked a good one. Terrebonne, St. James. Terrebonne was the district champions from a year ago, a team that every single year, Tyler Lewis, they just keep getting better and better every single year. And they got a great challenge and a team that's a state championship program in St. James. So, Alex, you're there, set the stage as you can talk to the audience about what your thoughts about what should be a big win for the Terrebonne Tigers, but you break this one down.
Absolutely. This was a really fun game, and the stage was set for what we were expecting to be a pretty premier matchup. Terrebonne has been a solid 5A program, really good team, but obviously the question is, when you're in the land of the Giants, good isn't really good enough when you're talking about state contention. So the question kind of coming into the season for me is Terrebonne a really good 5A team that might win a playoff game, might win 2 playoff games, or are they a true heavyweight in the heavyweight arena? Whereas St. James, what St. James is. St. James is going to be one of the best 4 to 5 teams in their bracket every year. They're going to be the favorite to win their district every year. They're going to go, 8-2, 9-1. They're going to be one of the top seeds. And you know what the identity of that team is right now. They're young, fast on the perimeter, high-flying passing attack on offense. They play solid defense. They're just a really, really good football team that's hard to keep up with. So that's a really good mix of an interesting early season game that's going to give us a good kind of idea of what team is going to go, what these 2 teams are going to look like down the stretch. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get the full picture of what this game could have looked like because one of the biggest stars on either of these 2 teams, Juwan Jackson, was hurt going into the game. He got hurt in practice this week. He hurt his hand, and it kind of showed. He didn't play in the first half. We saw Jaden Villanueva playing in his stead. One of the running back, he's kind of an athlete for the team, running back, DB, little wide receiver for the team. He filled in at quarterback, and he had a valiant effort there. But in the second half, Juwan came in, played quarterback, and just didn't look 100%. The throws were a little bit off. He just didn't look fully healthy. And so this wasn't the offense operating, this really high-flying, awesome offense operating at 100% capacity. And so the final score of the game was 28-6. Terrebonne ends up winning the game and kind of, separating in the fourth quarter. This was 28-8, excuse me. This was 14-8 going into the fourth quarter. But Terrebonne punched it in again. And it was clear that if you extended this game out another quarter, it just would have gotten uglier. Terrebonne actually kneeled on the 1-yard line at the very end, so it could have been even worse. But this, it was just one of those games where the depth of the 5A school, the size difference of the 5A school kind of showed as the game rolled on. that this was a really physical, really chippy game. A Terrebonne player got ejected for throwing a punch in the second quarter, so there was a bit of a composure element to things. There was, I think, like the key moment of the game that got mentioned a lot in my interview with Tyler Lewis, which hopefully we'll be able to maybe show today. If not, I'll obviously it'll be in my article, and it'll be on our YouTube channel. The interview with Tyler Lewis talked a lot about that moment. So St. James is up 8-7 in the second quarter, and Terrebonne, there is just this feeling of slowly losing the thread in the game, and a player gets ejected, and then with 5 minutes left to go in the half, they get the ball back and they just march down the field, chunk play with the big breakout star of the game, Quincy Adams, number 5 for Terrebonne. So Quincy Adams had I'm going to go ahead and just submit him now, Gridiron Football Player of the Week nominee.
Yeah, we got a candidate, Alex.
We got a candidate here.
All right.
These are unofficial stats, but unofficially, 30 carries for 278 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns.
Okay.
They only scored 4 touchdowns. So
I mean, that's a pretty good performance right there.
And he looked awesome. And it's a really interesting thing for this team in particular, because you go into a game like this, and what are the 2 names that you're expecting to pop off the page when you watch this game? Juwan Jackson and Alvin Celestine, right? The 4-star, Terrebonne, the big name recruit wide receiver. Alvin was fairly quiet. Obviously, we talked about Juwan, but Alvin was fairly quiet in this game. Alvin, he had, I don't have the full stats. The only stat line I was able to get was Quincy's, because it was the most important. Alvin had a few carries, had a few catches, but he didn't really break one throughout the game. And one thing I noticed about Alvin is he's not, especially at the 5A level, he's not the sort of superstar that's going to like carry a game, take over a game. That's not to speak ill of his abilities. He's awesome. He's a great player, and it showed. But just his specific skill set is one that I think isn't as easy to just, it's not as scheme agnostic. It's not as easy to just integrate into an offense, because he's a wide receiver. He's not Harlem Berry. He doesn't have like 4.2, 4.3 speed. He's just a really good wide receiver with good hands. He's fast, twitchy, very athletic, runs good routes. And that's not always, I think you're going to have quiet days like this, especially against a team like St. James that played really well on defense. Like, one of my takeaways from this game was that St. James played really well. Like, they lost by 20, but they played a good game. It was some things. Most of the reasons why St. James lost this game were things that they're not going to run into in the playoffs. They're not going to run into a team with 3 D1 athletes at offensive line in the playoffs. Like, that's just not going to happen. They're not going to run into an offensive line that's all 4 to 5 inches taller than all of the defensive linemen. That's just bigger than them. They're not going to run into a team with twice as many players on the team in better depth. Because St. James, it was showing as the game was going on that St. James had the talent to hold up with Terrebonne. But players start going down, players start getting hurt, players start getting worn down. You get to carry 25, 26, 27 for Quincy Adams. And it showed that St. James just didn't have the answers. They didn't have the depth to keep him slowed down throughout the game. And that offensive line was just rolling. So I think St. James will be fine. Juwan Jackson gets healthy again. I was really valiant effort for that team, but Terrebonne played really well. And I think I don't know if they're quite like state title contenders from this performance, but it's really hard to say that when you're talking about them as good as St. James is. Ultimately, you're talking about them playing a 3A team without their starting quarterback. So there's only so much you can draw from that. But I think there's a formula here for Terrebonne to make a run. And the formula is a truly, even at the 5A level, I think what could be a truly elite running game. Truly elite. I think they might be that good. I heard rumblings about Quincy Adams. I heard rumblings about 5 going into the game, going into the season, and he answered the bell because he was awesome, and this run game was awesome. And if Alvin Celestine who is going to be the best player on the field in almost every game you play, even at the 5A level. He's one of the best players in the state. If Alvin Celestine isn't the focal point of your offense, then there's a lot that you can do with that. And so it's going to be, I think, again, I don't know if they're quite like going to be in the dome. I'm not saying that. But if you're talking about a team that got upset in the first round last year, has a lot to prove, but they were a really good team, won their district. They have a big game against Hahnville next week in Terrebonne again. So you're talking about a really good football team here that might have a chip on their shoulder and might have a chance to make a real run this year. And I'll be excited to follow them throughout this year, of course, throughout the season, see what Coach Lewis and the gang can do. Before we keep going, I do want to touch on, there was it's probably where we want to go next. There was a comment. So
yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Okay, we can go to that.
I did see Casey Ray. I know Alex wanted to talk about the game, the big win. I mean, that is a big win. Probably the game in the area with Terrebonne getting a big win tonight. How about Jonesboro Hodge? I mean, they scored 30 unanswered points in the second half over Delhi Charter. Got a 42-27 win. Dakota Knox, I guess Casey's trying to put maybe a Gridiron football player because we got Dakota Knox going 4 for 5, 63 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Also had 13 carries, 132 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So, yeah, I mean, big win there. I'm going to try to get in touch with Coach Blank and try to get a interview with him, talk about that game. That is crazy finish right there. Coach Blank does help us a lot with the Gridiron Football American Bowl game.
Yeah.
Ellen Bienvenue as well with a score update. St. Martinville and Breaux Bridge. We talked to Coach for Breaux Bridge, Coach Pierce last week. It was a big win over Vermilion Catholic last week. And St. Martinville, remember, they had the big win starting off the season against Cecilia. And the next week, they end up losing. But they bounced back here again against Breaux Bridge in a big way, 35-7. St. Martinville with the win. So appreciate Ellen with the score update. I love it, Casey and Ellen. If you have any score updates or if you just any teams that you want to talk about, feel free to chime in. As we'll get obviously a couple of coaches have actually texted me back, and they are driving back from to school. So when they hit school premises, we'll get the chance to talk to a lot of these coaches. I know we hit probably a little bit earlier than we did the last 2 weeks. But as I'm texting these coaches, Alex, and try to get them to come on, I'll talk about what was a big game in the Baton Rouge area. You talk about big game in the Baton Rouge area, it is the game in the Baton Rouge area. I think the whole city showed up for this football
The quintessential game. Baton Rouge game in many ways.
Yeah, it pretty much is for sure.
It's like this Catholic Zachary, traditionally U-High Park View, U-High Madison Prep. It's no less than the 1B among those.
Oh yeah, for sure. And Catholic U-High, and this was a game. I mean, it's been barn burners. I mean, the last couple of years. I mean, U-High won in overtime last year. Remember, former Gridiron Football American Granville Anderson. He actually won the game for the Cubs 2 years ago on the game-winning field goal. It was crazy because the first kick attempt, he actually missed it. But there was a roughing the kicker penalty on Catholic, allowed U-High to try it again, and Granville was able to hit that field goal. So, former Gridiron Football American kicker getting the win for the Cubs. So, back-to-back losses for Catholic, and this was a basically before that a rivalry that was dominated by Catholic. So, back-to-back win for U-High. Catholic. It looked like that they remembered those 2 games vividly, losing to U-High, because early on they really put it on U-High. They turned the ball over on downs the first 2 drives, and then after that they scored. They outscored 14-0 against U-High in the first half. Jaden Miles was phenomenal in the football game. Had 3 touchdowns. 3 of the 4 touchdowns were Jaden Miles, and 2 of them are rushing. One of them, he did his Tim Tebow impersonation, did the jump pass in the end zone. They got close. They were expecting a Jay Miles run, and then he stopped, jumped up in midair, and threw a touchdown to the tiny end. Defense was phenomenal. So, yeah, they practiced that a lot with Jaden. So they jumped up to a 28-0 lead. U-High scored 2 touchdowns late, but Catholic was pretty much in control the entire time from start to finish. 3-0 are the Bears. When we get a chance later on the show, we'll show some highlights. I have the interview with Coach Fuller after the game. I'll show that. So I joked with Coach Fuller after the show. I was like, hey, Coach, you don't have to come on the show at 11:30 at night. So he thought it was pretty funny. So hey, we got the interview now. We'll just show the interview. So I thought that was pretty funny. But how about the resume Catholic has starting off the season? You beat Destrehan in week 1. Then you beat St. Thomas More in week 2. And then you beat U-High week 3. And guess what they got next? They have West Monroe next week. So the big names keep on going. We also have our intern, Roman Clark. He just buzzed in. He was big game tonight. We'll talk about that. And that is, of course, Woodlawn and Denham Springs. So I joked with Roman that, hey, you can't miss it. It's a stone throw away from our office. You can't miss Denham Springs High School. I mean, it's really a rock throw away. So we're going to bring Roman on to talk about that game. So Roman, what's up, man?
Hey, Jace, how you doing, man?
Doing good, Roman. So looks like so far, I mean, 2 games for both of us where really the team was in control. Catholic was pretty much in control of their game. Alex was out of game. It seemed like that Terrebonne was in control of that game against St. James. And hey, looked like Denham Springs was in control for you against Woodlawn. So I believe the score was, 33-0? Was that the final score tonight?
Yes, sir, 33-0.
All right, man. So Denham Springs, a team we talked to at Media Day, they talked about how veteran of a team they are. I mean, 40 seniors on a 5A team. That's a lot of veterans, a lot of seniors to lean on if you're Coach Brett Beard. So, Roman, what worked tonight so well for the Denham Springs Yellow Jackets to really put a whipping on a Woodlawn team that we talked to Coach Douglas last week that is coming off a win against Walker last week?
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, I mean, the Denham Springs defense was really good tonight for sure. Excuse me. The offense couldn't really get going for Woodlawn. And then on top of that, the Denham Springs run game was really astounding.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So Denham Springs laying on their ground game. I know Brenton Paul is a guy that we've covered a lot. He's been to a lot of our camps and tournaments. So talk about that ground game and talk about the players that really made a difference in that game.
Brenton Paul, I mean, he was great. He had 2 touchdowns on the day. Ran for I don't even know how many yards, but I know it was plenty. And then Hayden Ray, he also he at tight end, they were running him at running back, and he was a force. He looked like a men against boys. He was running through a bunch of tackles. Really at that goal line, he scored a touchdown at the goal line. Just getting anytime they needed those extra yards and they needed him to fight for it, he did.
Yeah, and I mean, Hayden Ray, you talked about him. There's not a lot of tight ends in the state that look like him, can run like him. He is definitely a mismatch problem. The Live Oak transfer, and Coach Beard talked about on Media Day how big of an addition that was for the Yellow Jackets. So talk about just seeing a guy like that, because he's definitely a mismatch problem for any defense.
Absolutely. I mean, he was a force. He was anytime. I was surprised that he was even in the backfield in the first place. He looked so out of place. He looked bigger than the quarterback, basically. And so, yeah, he was just really a force. It took about 3 people to tackle him anytime he went out there. I've rarely even seen him on the ground.
Man, talk about the quarterback. They actually have 2 of them. You have Coach Goldman. You have 2 Goldman brothers, right? So talk about them and real quickly, because I know we got a coach about to come on, and we're definitely going to talk to him because they're coming off a big win tonight But Roman, just two more quick questions. Talk about the quarterback and Goldman, and talk about the defense and how impressive they were tonight.
Oh, well, first of all, Goldman, he looked really nice out there. He was comfortable. He was, of course, the Woodlawn defense was trying their best to pressure him. They got him running. He was able to pick up a few firsts. He even scored a touchdown on using his legs. So that was really a big impact, him really getting out of the pocket, scrambling, making things happen when there seems to be nothing going on. That was really big. And then the defense, I mean, the Denham Springs defense was suffocating. It was anytime you would think Woodlawn had something going on, it was quickly stopped by a TFL or passes broken up or just couldn't get the run game going.
Yeah, absolutely, Roman. So I know you're going to have a complete post-game recap on this game at gridironfootballusa.com. Roman, I wish we could talk a little bit more, but I know Coach Bachman's about to talk with us. So good job, buddy. Congrats on the great coverage. And, keep it up, man. Great job tonight.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Jace. Always fun.
Absolutely. Catch up with you next week, Roman. That's our intern, Roman Clark. And let's bring on Coach Bachman on the show. Coach Thomas Bachman. What a victory for the Trojans.
Still in the car.
Yeah, all
right.
the way home, Jazz. Probably much of my face. I'm trying to hear you.
Yeah, Coach, it's all good. That's what's the beauty about this, Coach. Expect the unexpected. We're live, so we're still, Coach Ford from Catholic had him on last week. And it's kind of the same thing. You're just coming back home, enjoying a victory. But speaking of that, Coach, I mean, awesome win tonight against Destrehan, 27-21. Coach, I mean, just you defeated Unum Parish in the pressing fashion last week. And anytime you be a coach staff for a team like that does mean a lot. And then you come over against a Destrehan football team that's really, really good, high expectations, and y'all find a way to get the job done tonight. So, Coach, just guide us through what was a very impressive win tonight over Destrehan.
Yeah, it was a gritty win. It was one we had to go earn. It took every second of that game to finally get it done. Proud of our kids. I mean, probably gave up, some yards between the 20s, but, played really well defensively, got several red zone stops, blocked the field goal, and ran it back to the, I think, 2-yard line, and were able to score, to take a 14-7 lead there in the third quarter. But, you just never get comfortable, with how explosive and, how good they are. I mean, that receiver and that running back, I mean, they got a couple of receivers that just can score from anywhere on the field. So you just, you never really relax. And, it was back and forth. I think we went up, 21-7, and then they made it 21-14. And then we had a big, third and long conversion that went for a touchdown to go up 27. They end up blocking the extra point, so we're up 27-14. And they had the ball at the very end with trying to go win it. That's 27-21, and they had the ball at the end with a couple of seconds, and in the end our kids found a way.
Yeah, they really did. And to win a game like that in a close fashion like that, I know it speaks really volumes about this football team. Yeah. Coach, tell us about your quarterback, Carson. I mean, just another year. It's really his team now. It's his show. And, it really helps when you have a guy like Alex Fountain, though. I mean, to throw the football to and talk about how those two have really clicked.
Yeah, we don't return much experience. You mentioned those two, and we've got Peter Lofton and Aiden Price, and those are really the only guys that stepped on the field at all last year. I mean, we graduated a lot of experience, a lot of production, and so obviously returning Carson, and we're growing up some guys around him. We've had a couple of injuries. We're down a couple of receivers, so I mean we kind of grinded out a win tonight, leaned on them two young running backs and, that offensive line. And I think Cason Williams scored 3 rushing touchdowns and actually caught the other one tonight. So he had a really nice night. But, obviously feel really good with Carson that you can trust him in situations, big situations, and he can handle it. He understands what's on. And, as I've said several times, this is a team that should get better every week that we play, because these kids will gain experience. Offensively, defensively, we played extremely well tonight, really held them to 14 points for most of the night, until they got that late score. We went for a pick and missed it, and they went in. We got a PI call. We thought we got off the field on the drive where they scored to make it a one possession game. Got called for PI. I hadn't seen it yet. We'll see. But competed. That's the big deal. Just kids competed and found a way.
Yeah, for sure, Coach. I got one more question before I hand off to Alex. But you mentioned about your defense at Media Day and how that you returned really 13 of like your 18 top guys from early last year. So you did say that you're going to lean on your defense a whole lot. I know a lot of people talk about Xavier White, who had like 500 tackles last year. It seemed like, but really talk about this defense and how you're able to really lean on them as this young but talented offense still get some
Jay Frazier played well, made some really big plays tonight. Defending.
Coach, you there?
Uh-oh.
Do we have?
Is he under a tunnel? Is he under a tunnel?
Dead spot. We have a dead spot right here.
Spot.
We're going to keep Coach on until
rest in peace, Coach Bachman's data.
Well, Alex, I guess when we come back, we'll let you have a chance to ask Coach Bachman a question. But what do you like to know about the Trojans team after a win like that?
Yeah, my thought goes to I know they were returning a bunch of guys on defense. Somehow more starters than you can have starters. I didn't know that was possible. But they did still lose some guys. I know I was a big fan of Javen Lewis. He was a bowl game guy for them last year.
Yeah.
And he was kind of like one of their like big stars, a safety that could do a lot of things. The guy that you could kind of put on the big athlete, and kind of keep up. But obviously you're returning that much production. So
I don't know if I lost you guys.
There you are.
Okay, we're back.
I got you now. We got you now. So actually,
Can you hear us?
Yep.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I can hear him. Oh, okay, Coach. So Alex had a question for you. I know you talked about
he left the thing. We just lost him.
Well, I think we got enough from Coach. Coach gave us a lot to talk about, and Coach Greg Boyne's about to join us as well from Hahnville, coming up with a big win. So I'm going to get Coach Boyne on here. Coach, what's going on?
What's up, guys? Appreciate y'all having me.
Absolutely, Coach, and congratulations on the victory as well. This is a E.D. White team, that was in the Dome last year. I came up short, competitive game against Shaw, and really fought, Jesuit pretty tough last week, a Catholic opponent. So y'all pretty much controlled the game, it seemed like, against E.D. White. So it got me through what was a big win for y'all guys tonight.
Yes, sir. Good win for the program. Anytime you play a team as physical as E.D. White and with the background and that's a team that's perennially in the hunt for a state championship. Coach Lassane and his staff do a fantastic job. We've played them in sub-varsity the last 2 years. You get better when you play a team like that. Last year, when we lost to them in a close game at their place, I thought it was a defining moment for our program. And, you kids kind of see that they can play with a team like that. And then tonight it was.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
Sometimes everything just clicks, and offensively everything clicked tonight. So it was fun to watch. Kids are excited. They also know we have a tough game next week against a really good Terrebonne team that handled St. James tonight.
Yeah, and Coach, I don't know what it is, but it seems like y'all got some good running backs every year. Y'all have to graduate Calvin Smith, a great – can you hear me? Let's see. Can you hear me now, Coach? No?
Coach, we can hear you.
No
you
sound.
Can't hear us. Oh boy.
Okay. No sound.
Yeah, no sound.
let's say maybe try getting out and coming back in. So I don't know. I mean, it's the magic of live feed, Alex. So we're going to try so we get Coach Boyne back in. Let's see. Yeah, but I mean, still a big win over E.D. White, over the Cardinals, and we should get Coach Boyne. He just
Gotcha.
Went back in.
Can you hear us now?
Gotcha now. Yep. I don't know what happened.
Woo!
All right, Coach, we got you now. I was saying about it seems like y'all have a great running back every single year. I mean, Calvin Smith was a great player for y'all, and I know Fabian Celestine's been a guy that's really been really impressive. So talk about Fabian and trying to really step up in that role this year.
Yeah, Fabian's a kid that's coming off a fib fracture last year, week 4 against HL Bourgeois, week 5, I'm sorry. And he's worked extremely hard. He's a kid that loves the game. He was devastated. That's a pretty major injury. He was our second back, obviously, with CJ. So he's rehabbed. He did everything he had to do. He's got 8 touchdowns in the first 3 games. He's a little different from CJ. He's more of a slasher, but he also has his leg strength is pretty much back to where it was before an injury. A little bit behind of where we'd like our junior back to be, just because of 6 months of no squatting. But he's worked so hard to get back, so it's good to see him having some success.
Absolutely, Coach. I know you also, a team that returns a lot, and as a head coach, I'm sure it makes things a lot easier when you return your quarterback back as well in Landon. He had a great year last year, and talk about his emergence and how he's even grown even more this year.
Yeah, Landon's a kid that, last year we had a quarterback battle between him and Bennett Knockan, who's now playing receiver for us. He had 3 touchdowns tonight. And Landon won the job mainly because his accuracy. His arm strength really wasn't where it needed to be, but with CJ in the run game, we were able to hide some of Landon's deficiencies. But in the offseason, he dedicated to the weight room, his throwing program that we did this summer. He is as good, and I've been blessed to coach a lot of good quarterbacks. He is as accurate. He can make every throw on the field right now. He's at like an 82% completion through 3 games. He had 2 touchdowns called back, and he would have had a 5 touchdown night. So just everything's coming together. He understands what we want to do offensively. We run a lot of run pass option stuff. He gets it. He kind of can see it. And he's learned how to manipulate the defense, hold the safety with his eyes before making throws on the backside. So it's fun. I just texted him a minute ago, said, look, it's really fun to watch your development and how he's becoming a leader.
Absolutely. Alex, you have any questions for Coach Boyne? A big win, 28-7 over the E.D. White Cardinals.
Absolutely, Coach. First off, congratulations. Like we said already, I actually happened to be at the Terrebonne game today for their big win over St. James. I kind of want to ask you about how does defeating E.D. White, which is also a very, they're both very physical teams, both teams that like to run the ball, great run games. How does that prepare you? And how do those teams differ? Obviously, they run a little bit of a different concept schematically. But how does that game prepare you for what is going to be a really big test for both teams going up against Terrebonne to open up district play?
Yeah, well, I'm going to ask you for the scouting report. You were at the game.
Right.
I have my hands full with E.D. White the whole week. You were able to watch Terrebonne. You got to jump on it.
Good point.
But look, we're familiar with Terrebonne. Just my years at Destrehan, Coach Lewis was there, and obviously being a district opponent, we played them last year. That game for us was a game where everything went right offensively. Our defense played well. I think they were a much better team than the score indicated last year. And I know Coach Lewis is going to remind his team probably 99 or 100 times this week of what the score was last year. So we know. I told the kids, enjoy this one for 24 hours. The film on Terrebonne will start being sent on Huddle tomorrow afternoon. We want our kids, they work hard. We want them to enjoy the win tonight, but they know what's coming. We have to go on the road for the first time this year to play a good Terrebonne at their place. I'm sure they'll have a good crowd being, with their record. I think Coach Lewis does a good job, and he's probably got the community excited. So we're excited about it. We just know that it's a tough game on the road. So.
Yep, and I believe that's going to be the next game for y'all, right? I mean, y'all play them next week.
Correct.
Yep, okay.
Yep.
Wow.
That's why I need that scouting report.
Right.
Tackle well.
I know. One thing you don't have to tell me is they're really big. I know they're huge.
They're really big. Yeah, that doesn't. Yeah.
You're not. I said, don't tell me.
Don't tell you. Yeah.
No, they have some legit offensive linemen. We watched their scrimmage against Vanderbilt Catholic. We wanted to see an in-person look at them, and they're legit. Celestine didn't play, but we know what he can do. I think Coach Lewis has done a great job in keeping a lot of those kids at the school. And because like a lot of places, kids look around. They go to some of the private schools, and I think Coach Lewis has done an excellent job of keeping those guys in house, and they're improving their kids. They're developing their talent.
And Coach, in games like this, you kind of find out, especially early in the season, you kind of find out a little bit more about your team every single week. What is something, I guess, from tonight that surprised you the most about your team tonight?
I don't know about a surprise. I know those guys don't score 7 points very often. I know that offense. They're very physical up front. They're very well coached. So I hats off to our defensive staff, coach and the players. They put in a lot of work, like I said. And Coach Hussein, who I have a ton of respect for, their head coach, told me after the game, he said, "Coach, that's one of the more physical football teams we've seen in a while." Mm-hmm. And I told our kids that. I said, anytime an opponent that I consider one of the more physical teams. I mean, I thought Shaw was one of the top 3 teams in the state last year at any classification, and they went toe to toe with them. And I know every year in high school your personnel changes, but that the program that they do, they run over there is top notch. They're going to be in the mix again this year. So huge win for our program, huge win for our kids.
Absolutely, Coach. Just any message? I mean, you're doing such a fantastic job with this Hahnville football program, Coach. Any message to the fans and just their support, and obviously come out and support what should be a huge district game next week.
Yep. Look, I mean, I think this community expect you to win. They expect success. There's a tradition here, like very few schools have at Hahnville, going back, all the way into the 90s when Coach Barbier was here. And Coach Val then, carried it on through the 2000s. So we're just trying to get back to that level. Hopefully, Hahnville's known to travel, and Terrebonne's not too far. And I think it's two really good programs in good spots. So if we've been, knock on wood, we've been lucky with the weather these first 3 weeks compared to last year. So I'd love to see our fans get on the road and come to Houma next week.
Absolutely. Alex, you have anything to wrap it up before we let Coach get on his way?
Not too much. I know I'm very familiar with that E.D. White team. I'll let you go. I can just kind of comment, but yeah, no, it's fine. I'm really familiar with that E.D. White team. They're a steady Eddie program that they're always going to produce those good teams that are always physical. They play that brand of football, and so yeah, it's a really. I think. I mean, you're the coach. You know better than me, but yeah, I definitely think you hit the nail on the head with how that team can prepare you and getting that test early in the season can be so helpful. So, but good luck on the rest of the season, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations on the big win.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
All right, absolutely, Coach.
Have a good
Coach
night.
Greg Boyne, victorious head football coach tonight, big time win over the E.D. White Cardinals. We'll catch up with Coach throughout the season, but I appreciate Coach Boyne hopping on. He's doing an awesome job with that football program. Hahnville is one of those football programs that's a prideful football program, and what he did in last year in year one, I mean, just the turnaround they had, they got the right man for the job moving forward, for sure. Absolutely. All right, Alex. So 2 coaches already. I know Coach Bachman just texted me. He apologized, but hey, I mean, just coming on and talking about your program on the show, I mean, it's plenty enough, Coach. We appreciate all your time, and congratulations on a big time win. We'll probably have a couple more coaches come on as we go. As I'm going to try to set up the scoreboard, because with coaches coming on, we got to get in as much scores as we possibly can before we go into everything. So let's see. I can pull that up. Alex, you know the drill. If you see any coaches come on the stream, let me know, because I will be getting all the scores together. We kind of go get our eyes around the state. Let's see what we got here. So Iowa gets a 42-13 over Parkview Baptist. Slow start to the season there for the Eagles, but the Yellow Jackets are real. I mean, it's a real deal. Coach Johns has got a really good football team, and Parkview Baptist is a tough go around starting the season. You play Dunham, you got to play Iowa. Those are some tough teams you got to play to start.
Yeah, it's always tough. Like Parkview Baptist doesn't seem like they're quite back to their kind of usual form yet. It's slow start of the season. That's all right. It's also tough when you're playing the teams you're playing. But yeah, it's always, look, Parkview Baptist is Parkview Baptist, so it's always a big win to be able to knock them off and blow them out in the way that Iowa seem to have done. So no, we know that Iowa team, they're really good. They're going to be really good again this year, and this is another good example of that.
Live Oak gets a 55-28 win over Ponchatoula. Calvin Urson, one of the top prospects in the 2028 class at wide receiver. Saw him last year as a freshman. Kid's legit. I mean, he's the real deal. Big time win for Coach Leggett and the Eagles. Let's see what we have. Claiborne Academy up in Haynesville gets a 56-8 win over Franklin Academy. Ty was putting some points, man. Like Coach was putting up. Coach Christman was putting up his word there that they're going to score some points to make things fun. And the Indians have scored a lot of points. Pineville gets their first loss of the season with Coach Charles. A little bit surprised by how lopsided the score was, but big time win there for Coach Christman and the Indians. We'll see if we can try to get Coach Chrisman on the show. Maybe I get a chance to text him, see if he comes on the show. Let's see. Kaplan gets a 48-16 win over North Vermilion. Covenant Christian, this is a team that you're also very familiar with, Alex, in the Houma area. 42-6 win over Ascension Christian down in Gonzales. A big time win there. The Lions are definitely going to be a force there in Division 4 Select. Let's see. Brazil and Thomas Jefferson. It looks like fourth quarter, but it looks like Brazil's got this one in hand right here as I see it. If somebody has a score update, pretty much wrong, they can. But 17-0 over Thomas Jefferson right now. Mandeville and Alex, Mandeville gets a big win, 39-14 over Carver. But you're at the Tulane game against Duke, and Nate Shepard, made some plays out there.
Nate Shepard's going to be their guy. This is sometimes when a local recruit gets into like a big school, it's kind of like, well, you're happy for them to being able to get into a Power 4 school, but they're probably not going to, make a no. Nate Shepard's going to be the best running back on that team before the end of the year. He's already their number 2 guy easily. He's already their change of pace guy. He's going to be that RB1 by the end of the year. And that's a Duke offense that's going to get a lot of attention over these next 2 years because their quarterback, Tulane transfer Darian Mensah, he's going to have an NFL future. I'm not telling you he's going to be a first round pick or anything, but he's going to play. He's going to be he's going to be drafted. And so you get that kind of attention, and the sky's the limit for Nate. Nate's, his brother Will just got drafted. I think he got drafted, or he was a prospect this past season. Yeah, declared for the NFL. So sky's the limit for Nate. Nate can go places, and he's going to get the opportunity to do so with what might be a really fun offense over these next 2 seasons to watch.
Bonky keeps on rolling, man. 53-6 over, and I know people are saying,
but Dylan Compton and Kyle Johnson, where did they go?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I mean, what does it look like without those two? But they can adjust, man. They got Zion Lee, who's a bruiser, is a freight train trying to tackle. They got some good receivers there, Kane Milligan. So they're going to be really good, and they're going to be just fine. How about Huntington? 52-43 over Benton. It says fourth quarter. I'm not sure if that's like if there's any updated score that over there, but that'll be a big win there. And that's the crazy thing about that is, Alex, that Coach Dennis was the coach at Huntington for a long time, helped elevate that program. Now Coach John Simon is over there leading the football team. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much kind of like the Coach Stephen Dennis Bowl right there. But Huntington, 52-43. You know that Coach Dennis wants this one being the head coach at Benton, but high scoring there. As Grant, who hosted the show with us last year, would say, Shreveport, they know how to score. They know how to put points on the scoreboard, and they show that right there, 52-43. I'm not sure that's final. It says fourth quarter right here. If anybody has an update on that, please do. If you want to comment, like we said before, feel free to comment, chip in. If there's a score that you want us to talk about, now we got some time. We don't have a coach on as of right now. Feel free to chime in with the score. That's interesting. 22-6, Plaquemine over Bel Air. I'm going to try to see if that is updated. Like some of these scores still showing that it is in the fourth quarter. So that is interesting. 22-6. I mean, Bel Air was able to hang on right there. I don't think we have an updated score there.
Keep that game a little bit closer than maybe we would have expected.
Yeah, for sure. Delcom gets a 28-6 win over Beauchene. Ellender Memorial gets a 14-3. Now it says fourth quarter there, 14-3. But it looks like they're in control there. So it'll be a big win for Coach Butler for the first win of the season for Ellender Memorial. Rossman gets a 28-14 win there over Richwood. I just text Coach Porter to see if he can hop on and talk about the Crusaders because, man, they are really good. I don't think anybody knows how they.
No. You can finish what you were going to say, but there is a comment that I'll mention after you're done.
Yeah, please do. I was going to talk about real briefly that Coach Porter and his team is really good. They got a great quarterback in Stephen George. They put up a lot of points. Westminster Christian's also a great team. These are two programs that are young, kind of like uprising. But the Chargers made the playoffs last year. Both were undefeated heading to this game. But it was the Crusaders that looked really good. Keep an eye on them, man, in Division 4. So we're going to go to the comment, Alex. I know.
Yeah. So Tioga is putting up a bunch of points, but actually their defense is contributing too. They had a scoop and score in that game this week, and so James Lucas made sure to the third, the father, made sure to make a point of that Tioga is actually playing complete football, which we saw this with Cecilia last year. There's sort of a freeze point with offensive football that I actually thought about bringing this up when talking about Tioga earlier. But there's a freeze point when you have like an elite offense that like sometimes it just doesn't matter how good you think the other defense is. You can just score and just dump these crazy numbers on people and you just can't stop it. And if they're getting a certain level of defensive play out of their team too, that could be an interesting team. Yeah, be a team that could make a real run because it's if you're a lead on one side of the ball, you can do a lot with that if the other side can contribute, and it sounds like they can contribute. So,
I do have an updated score on the Plaquemine game, 38-6. So that is a final 38-6, which makes more sense. Not really shade or anything towards Bel Air. I think they're. Coach Matevia does a great job over there with those kids. But Plaquemine saw them in the spring, and they are loaded. So they're going to be in contention this year with the Franklin Parishes of the world. And I know Franklin Parish, they played Calvary. We'll get to that game a little bit later. But still, that was a big win there for Westminster Christian, the Crusaders. Of Opelousas, you got Westminster Christian, Lafayette, Opelousas. It was the Crusaders that got the win there, and that was a big win for them. 58-0. West St. Mary gets a win over Thrive Academy over the Bulldogs. Shutout win there for the Wolfpack. Donaldsonville, 33-6. They have an outside linebacker, Alex, that's been player of the week finalist 2 weeks in a row, to Caleb Green. In the first game, he had 5 sacks. In the second game, he had 8 TFLs. I don't think I've ever heard that stat line with 8 TFLs in one game. That is unbelievable. So I don't think anybody can block him because you get 5 sacks in game 1, 8 TFLs in week 2. Just a hunch that it's going to be pretty tough to block that kid.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Okay. Wait a second.
I don't think I've ever heard of that. I mean,
let's talk about Donaldsonville for a second.
Yeah.
Like as a team.
Right.
They have now given up. They gave up what, 6 this week? So 27-33. They've given up 11 points per game through 3 games. They're a 3A school that has now beaten 2 4A schools in a row in Port Allen and Assumption in the first 2 weeks. And then what is St. John? I don't remember. What tier of West St. John's a 2A school. But they beat 2 4A schools in a row the last 2 weeks. They handle West St. John now. They've got a guy that has about 25 tackles for loss in the first 3 weeks of the season. I'm just saying they're playing in Division 3. They were the 17 seed last season. They actually won a playoff game last year.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you they're a state championship contender necessarily. I don't know much about the team.
Right.
All I'm saying is they're in St. James's district.
Well, yeah. Keep an eye on
Could be a fun game.
Yeah.
Could be a fun game. Who else do they have on their schedule? Any other big games? Not really.
While you're looking at that, Alex, we do have another comment I want to get to. Naomi Abear, her son, Gerald Watson, if you recognize that name, Alex, he was at our camp earlier this year for Gridiron Football League camp, and kid can fly. I mean, he's like 4.4 speed. Gerald can definitely fly. He's gotten by to play in a Gridiron Football All-American Bowl game, so I want to give a shout-out to Gerald there because I know his mom's watching right now. But Jennings able to get a 26-14 win. Jennings is a team that I know they had a disappointing loss to open the season against Iowa, but that Iowa team is legit. And I'm still really high on this Jennings football team. So I want to give a shout-out. She mentioned 26-14. I want to give a shout out to the Jennings Bulldogs. So I appreciate Naomi for the comment there, Miss Naomi there. So I appreciate her, and that's why we do it. So I want y'all to interact there and comment below if there's a team or a score that y'all want to talk about there. So didn't want to interrupt you, Alex, but wanted to address that comment. So that's why we do the show.
Yeah, they play Northwest next week. That'll be a really fun game. That's an exciting game to see. They have a bunch of good games on that schedule, but that's next week. So they got a good win this week against Welsh, and back-to-back road trip. They play Northwest next week. That'll be a really big game to circle. See how that goes.
All right, let's move on. West Washita gets a 57-32 win, so a big win there for the Chiefs. That had looked pretty good to start the season. West Louisiana gets back-to-back wins. Start the season, they had to play Ash week 1, so
tough.
Yeah,
that's tough.
That's a tough season. I can tell you that. But they bounced back, and the team hasn't been discouraged from it. I can tell you that much. Coach Meyer did a great job of getting these guys to bounce back. 50-35 win over Broadmoor for Coach Sarah does a great job with the Buccaneers. So I want to give him a shout out. So it was a hard fought victory there for the Saints. Westlake, Coach Richardson gets a 34-6 win over Washington Marion. How about this? A little bit of a high-scoring matchup here. 50-35, Warren Easton gets a 15-point win over the Slidell Tigers. So, Alex, we actually got another coach here. We're going to talk about this one as well. So we're going to bring him on.
Sorry.
And one of the most impressive wins throughout the week. Coach Wayne Stein from St. Charles Catholic does an awesome job with his football team. And, Coach, what a win. I think that's as Comet football as you can get. Obviously a big challenge with Dunham and Elijah Haven, but really your defense stepped up. And talk about what's been a very impressive win to start off the season, Coach.
Yeah, I think our defense has been lights out 3 weeks in a row. They especially were phenomenal tonight. Our defensive coordinator, Jason Brown, who's been with me for my 5 years as head coach, but we've been together for 9. I always feel like he's playing checkers. I mean, he's playing chess and everybody else is playing checkers. But, he did a great job putting our kids in position, and our kids believe in the plan. And not only did we slow them down, but our defense scores 2 touchdowns. And I thought our offense, held on to the football, which was part of the plan. We want to limit Elijah Haven's possessions. We're trying to limit him to having the ball 10 times, which I don't know if we did that with the 2 pick sixes, but off to a good start, kind of off to playing old school St. Charles Catholic football, which we didn't do a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, it shows that was kind of like a 1 year, flash to pan. Don't like that. This year shows why that y'all played Comet football. And Coach, I want to talk about a guy. He actually went to one of our camps. He went to our camp at John Kerr's High School, Skylar Edwards, and talk about what kind of running back he is. I don't think a lot of people give him enough credit for how good of a back he really is, and just being that leader for y'all this year, and then kind of being
Skylar's kind of everything for us offensively. I don't know how many times he carried the ball tonight. It felt like 40. I have to check the stats, but challenged him at halftime to not get tired. He bust a long run early. We failed at the 2-yard line in the middle of the first half. And then again, we come out after a big stop by our defense, and our offense drives down to make it 14-14. And, even at the end, we get the ball back with 4:30 left, and we give it back with 20 seconds, which is still too many after all those hitching pitches that they gave us. But it's all about Skylar. I mean, he carried the ball 31 times last week against Lutcher. He's a downhill physical back. He's a pass protector. He can hit the home run if you give him enough space, but he's also more powerful enough. If you don't give him enough space, he very rarely loses yardage. And I think that is the biggest component for us that is impressive.
And before I get to Alex, I just have to ask you this, because you've had your history of playing some really talented quarterbacks. Obviously, Elijah this year and last year. I mean, Arch Manning, and you've had success against these 2 really talented, generational type quarterbacks. So you mentioned your defensive coordinator, but what's just been, really the key to having success against obviously really talented players like that?
Yeah, I think, you don't get caught up in, you're still going against a 16, 17-year-old kid. You just try to change the picture, and you try to play to your strengths. I think that's what Coach Brown does a great job of. You don't get caught up in what we don't have. He gets caught up in what we do have, and that's hard-working kids that he can put in position and maybe have some checks that maybe some other people can't have, and have double calls. And I think he does a great job with that. And, when they look down to get the snap, we don't want them to look up and see the same thing they saw, before, and our kids have to still execute it, right? It can be as nice as it is on the board, but our kids have to execute it. And when they get a chance to make a big play like we did with Jaira Hall's pick 6 and Brooks Monica, they have to cash in. If that's a drop, it's just another play. So, those guys, you have to defend every single inch of the field, vertically and horizontally. I mean, Elijah Haven can make every throw. And then the scariest part, after he threw 2 pick sixes, he got angry and took off running, and I didn't know if we were going to tackle him. I mean, he broke about 6 tackles. I was like, well, let's not pick him off, bat it down, because he's just as deadly as a runner as he is a thrower. And he's got some great weapons. And I have a lot of respect we have a history of Dunham and Coach Weiner and their staff.
Yeah.
I told him after, I'm a Dunham fan every week except this one. They have a championship pedigree. I felt for them when we kind of snuck away with 1 in 22, and we kind of lost the same way in 23. And then I watched them fight last year and have a chance late, and I know what that feels like. They have a championship pedigree over there at Dunham. They're building something special, and they're going to be a tough team to beat.
Right. And then you mentioned it, Coach. That was actually a rematch of the Superdome, the state championship game, just a couple of years ago, when they were able to defeat Coach Weiner and the Tigers. But 27-21, St. Charles Catholic moves to 3-0. It's definitely it looked like the St. Charles Catholic of old the last couple of years. Alex, you have any questions for Coach Stein off a big win?
Yeah, Coach. Congratulations. Of course, your team has looked unbelievable this season.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, both sides of the ball with the defense has been ridiculous. Just a buzzsaw. Nobody's been able to stop Haven throughout the season. You talked about it a lot, but I'm interested in how this team has grown from what is looking to be just was a blip on the radar last year, a bit of a down year for the team, and back to kind of normal St. Charles Catholic ways. What has this team been able to do to grow and make sure that one, quote unquote down year was just that, an anomaly, and you're back to kind of this normal situation?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, you can't put a price tag on experience. We had a great run those my first 3 years. We were 35-4, 2 championships, a runner-up, and then we lost 17 starters. And so not that the cupboard was bare. We still had good players last year, but they didn't have anything to like hang their hat on from an experience standpoint. And then unfortunately, their head coach went out and scheduled this gauntlet of a schedule. So I don't think last year we were as far as it looks. It's just, Newman was one of their better teams that they had last year. And then we ran into Dunham and we played St. James and all of those guys in De La Salle. And then, Legacy has a quarterback. You talked about quarterbacks, Jace. I mean, it's one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen at this Legacy school that we play week 7. He'll be on display at St. Aug tomorrow. So
Okay.
I think, there's a lot of that, our kids. And then, we started to lack some confidence because we didn't win those games we had won in the past. We lost a nail biter to Dunham last year. We had the lead just like this and threw an interception, and Elijah drove down and scored at the end. So I think experience is the biggest thing. We have 15 returning starters, 7 on offense, 7 on defense, and our kicker who's made some big kicks in his time here. So I think whenever adversity hits, which it did, we gave up a touchdown with 7 seconds to go in a half, and that's how Dunham took the lead. I think the maturity is shown, and when we're ready to win games like this, where we probably weren't ready a year ago.
And Coach, it seems like you can't really take a deep breath because I looked at the schedule coming up for y'all guys, and it's crazy. I mean, y'all coming off Newman, Lutcher. I went to that game Thursday night. They had a big win over Liberty. He just played Dunham. But looking ahead, De La Salle, St. James, Terrebonne. Alex can probably give you a scouting report on St. James. He was just at the game tonight, so he probably get a scouting report there. But Coach, so just what's the message to the team just after a game like that? Great start to the season, 3-0, but to tell your guys you can't relax after even a big win like this.
Yeah, it's exactly. I just walked out of my team meeting in the same way. One of my coaches saw this at LSU. He said this year they've got the schedule on the board, but they turn all of the schedules backwards. After they play them, win or lose, they turn them backwards, and all they have is the team of the week, and it's kind of what we've been doing. When we win, we put a pennant up, and we celebrate it for about 12 to 24 hours, and then we turn that pennant backwards. And you have to with this schedule. De La Salle's 0-3, maybe the best 3 losses of any 0-3 team in America. Lost to St. Paul, Holy Cross, and Central Baton Rouge. So they're solid, and St. James has everybody back from a team that went to the Dome. Terrebonne, we beat them last year in overtime. They have everybody back. And then Legacy School of Sports Science, and then Bell Chase, who's going to be 7-0 and has been kind of really lighting it up on people. So we can't get caught up because it's a gauntlet of a schedule. We just have to, like you just said it, we have to worry about the task at hand. And it's old cliche, but we just have to try to go 1-0 every week. We are healthy. We're playing physical, and we are not afraid. We're back to not being afraid of winning ugly. It's not fancy. It's not the most. We're not gonna light up the scoreboard and not have a bunch of stats, but this is the St. Charles way.
Right, Coach. You just mentioned, I know last year we were going to talk about the off year and everything, but a lot had to do with injuries. Y'all guys were really banged up a lot last year. So just getting everybody healthy and getting everybody back, playing the St. Charles Catholic way. Great start to the season. And obviously, how's Coach Frank doing? And I'm sure he's still giving his tidbits and everything about the program, right?
Yeah, he's doing great. In fact, we're back to his old offense. So we talk weekly, daily. I think he actually went to see Nick play tonight. So I don't think he saw. He texted me on the way home, but I think he went watch Romo play against Shaw. So, but yeah, he's still here. He's on the sidelines and still has an influence. And we wouldn't want that any other way.
Well, Coach, I gotta say, good Friday night for the Monica household. I'll tell you what, the Comets get a win tonight. Rummel was able to get a big win over Shaw in that rivalry game. So, Coach, I appreciate you spending a couple minutes with us and talking about the Comets. And, Coach, you're obviously doing an awesome job of the program. And, you're definitely continuing what Coach Monica brought to St. Charles Catholic. Keep up the great work and looking forward to see what the Comets do throughout the rest of the way.
All right, guys. Thanks for the coverage. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Coach Wayne Stein, victorious head football coach there for St. Charles Catholic. A big-time win over probably one of the most impressive wins throughout the slate this week. And we talked about it, right, Alex, about this football team, man. If you're a five-star quarterback and you got to play against St. Charles Catholic, buckle up. I mean, they're going to stress everything on you. And I've always said this about whether it's been Coach Frank Monica leading this team, whether it's been Coach Wayne Stein leading this football team, there may not be, just from an X's and O's standpoint, there may not be a more well-prepared, well-coached team than St. Charles Catholic is every single week. And clearly you saw that tonight.
This team is awesome. Their resume right now is amazing. And we're talking about a team that's just, they're in a bracket that Shaw ended up winning last year. I'm already thinking about them. I kind of already have them penciled in my head as one of those favorites in that state championship bracket, because you don't do what they've done to these three teams on both sides of the ball, but especially on defense, and not earn that kind of stripes, in my opinion, because Elijah Haven's been unstoppable to start the season. He's I haven't watched him, but he's the number one quarterback in the state, one of the best players in the entire country, and he's putting up those numbers. And I'm just like, all right, he's just going to put 40 plus points up on everybody all year, and score 14 points from the defensive side of the ball, and hold them to 21. That's incredible. And by the way, I'm really happy with the game I went to. It was a big game, great game. Sounds like the game of the night was that one. That sounded like the game to have gone to in the Baton Rouge area and stuff. That game sounded
Billy was there.
Awesome.
Billy was taking pictures. So
we'll
Billy we'll have some photos of that one. So more coverage about that game. But I know James Lucas was wondering on an update from Max, said Max perhaps is not updated. Well, we got the best thing. We got Gridiron football giving scores out. So I got you covered, Mr. James. So we have
Font Blue's a good team, by the way. They've got a really good running back. They're a good team. So I wouldn't hang the head too much about Peabody losing.
Their running backs is Their running back is really. Oh yeah. He's only the sophomore coming up. Sheldon Asmore. He's really good. He's not a guy that a lot of people know about yet, but you're going to know about. You're going to know about.
You get enough games against Chalmette, and people will hear him.
So he also sent me a video. I'm gonna try my best. Coach Lucas, Cohen Henry had a scoop and score. Let's see here. The footage is kind of. I'm gonna try to see if I can make it work. We'll probably pull it up as we go through the scores. Try so we can pull that video up. He want me to show it on the live feed, so I'm gonna see what I can do. And just still kind of working thing, but appreciate Coach Stein. Great show. All right, 3 coaches. We might have a couple more as we go through it. So talking about more scores central. I tell you what, they're winning. They're winning games, but they're not really blowing everybody out. But they're winning. 48-37 over Walker. I thought that was a pretty good bounce back.
Go ahead and turn the score on
after a loss. Oh, that does help. That does.
Yeah. This score is actually really interesting to me. So last year, Central blew the doors off of Walker. We had a beat writer there last year. Daryl was there, and he was surprised like by just how good like how uncompetitive that game was. Obviously, this game was much more competitive. So Central won the game. So they won the game by 2 possessions. So I'm not, let's not be too bearish here. But it is sort of interesting that they don't look quite as dominant as they did. On the flip side, that's a really good performance from Walker. Obviously, there are no moral victories in football, but sometimes there are moral victories in football. Let's be honest. They can't say that. The coaches can't say that. The players can't think like that. But as media people, we have the ability to say that actually, even in a loss, pretty happy with Walker's performance here. Looking at the box score, maybe the Dolphins didn't look too bad on Thursday. That sort of thing.
Right.
But
better than
yeah,
what they were looking like.
You couldn't look worse. But yeah, so it's sort of like that where Walker loses to a Woodlawn team that isn't a world beater this year necessarily. They've had some struggles, and so they're playing the defending state champions. I think there is some level of expectation for that game potentially to get ugly, and it didn't. Walker was able to put up a lot of points on a defense that's 1 year removed from being one of the best defenses in the entire state. So Walker's really good. Walker had a really good performance here, being able to put up points against Central. And even in a loss, it's a solid bounce back performance.
Yeah, it certainly is. So it definitely was Central still undefeated on the season at 3-0. Hamilton Christian, David Vidal, man, he's fun to watch. And Hamilton Christian, I believe, still undefeated on the season. So 48-22 score there, win over Vinton. Hamilton Christian is going to be a fun team to watch, man, moving forward. Vidalia, 42-20 over Block. Big win there for the Vikings. We may have Coach Corville come on the show. He told me if not, it's okay. That's why we do the show live. So things happen. But he did tell me he may come on by the end of the show. He's 3-0, starting his tenure at Sterling's Catholic, a 24-20 victory there over Notre Dame. So I think that's a really impressive game, especially
Briefly want to mention this.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Notre Dame was in the lead in this game in the fourth quarter. So this was a comeback win. Turlings, it was 20-17 in the fourth quarter. So Turlings had a change of lead, game winning touchdown late in this game, which that surprised me when I saw that. When I was kind of looking through late in the game, the Terrebonne St. James game, I was kind of perusing, and I saw that score, and I was like, "Whoa!" It's really impressive for Turlings Catholic to have pulled it out. So I want to clarify that the story of this game at the end of it is going to be that Turlings Catholic pulled out the win. But my thought when I saw that was, whoa, this Notre Dame team's legit. I mean, they were really good last year too, but really, really good. Because Turlings Catholic's a good school. They made it to the quarterfinals last year, playing in the land of the Giants, in that awesome Division I select bracket. And so they're really good this year, even with the new head coach. Start of a new era for that team. They're going to be really good again. And so that would have been a huge win for Notre Dame to have knocked them off. But it's a big win for Turlings Catholic to have done what they were able to do today. So to be able to come from behind and get that win.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a guy we actually invited to our Gridiron Football All-American Bowl game. I'm not sure if he's really playing or not. I'm trying to put the sound down. Maybe that helps, but let's see. I can try to play it here.
Oh, that's the second frame.
There. Yeah, it's kind of buffering a little bit, but I'm going to try to see if we can play it again. See if it. That's why the magic of trying to stream and trying to put this.
It's a lot of bandwidth that we're trying to expend at the same time.
Yeah, right. So, well, I guess we can't get it rolling, but I guess you can picture it in your mind how that play turned out. It was a scoop and score. We were trying to play it. Looks like it's we're unable to get that done. So, apologize there to Coach Lucas. But yeah, I mean that was a scoop and score there for Cohen Henry. So we're going to go back to the scores there. So that's why we're trying a couple different things and see what works and what does not work. But we're going to go back to the scoreboard. How about your Terriers, Alex? 44.
Go Terriers.
14 over Sulphur. You talked about you make that trip over there to Sulphur, and it looks like the road trip didn't wear on them.
No, yeah, it's 5A school too, so they laid it on them, so that's pretty impressive. But it is kind of funny. When I was first looking at like games in the Terrebonne Parish area to go to today, the first one I checked was Vanderbilt. I'm like, oh yeah, I wonder who they're playing. Oh, at Sulphur? No, that's not the direction I'm heading. Not tonight. Nothing against Sulphur, but that was not where I was going this weekend, so that was not the trip that was going to be made. But happy with the game I went to, which actually is next on the list here, St. James Terrebonne. So yeah, happy to have gone to that game and talk about that game.
We also have the update from Huntington and Benton earlier. That did go final. Huntington held on, I believe, 59-57 over Benton.
Whoa!
So that is your final score. That just went final. A lot of points. Obviously, Benton has one of the top quarterbacks in the country for the 2027 class. And that kind of felt like that type of game for him to really bounce back and show it off. But did come in a loss, so I know that would have been a big win there against his former team there for Coach Dennis. But John Simon gets the job done. Former running back standout over there, getting the job done. So 59-57. You just talked about that game earlier. This was the game you were at. Terrebonne 28, St. James 8. If you want to hear about what Alex had to say about it. When we go live, after we finish live and go back to the very beginning of the video, that's when Alex broke down that game, 28-8, big win for Tyler Lewis and Terrebonne. Gina gets a 42-7 win over St. Frederick. Sam Maw, not as high scoring as the Cooper Babin Gators were in the first couple of games, and yeah, I mean, so it was 28-12. Big, but still a good win over John Kenny. This is a team that John Kenny actually won last year, and they got that win over Sam Maw. And yeah, 3-0. Gators look really good. So
oh yeah, that game was awesome last year, if I recall correctly. Oh yeah. So yeah, big win for to do that.
And Noel Toussaint wants to give a shout out to the North Iberville Bears. So they get a big win over Ben Franklin. The Bears are 3-0 to start the season. And Maringouin, give a shout out to Maringouin country over there. And 20-14, the Bears get a win over Ben Franklin. So Coach Gass and Bears start off 3-0. And showing signs of that magic it was that first year in varsity action. So gotta give a shout out there to the Bears. We'll probably see that score later on, but want to address that score since Miss Noel wanted to give us an update on that. So I appreciate Miss Noel for the update. Southside, this was actually a huge win there for Jess Curtis over Madison Prep. Madison Prep started off beating two 5A programs starting off. I mean, you start off, we talked to Coach Landry Williams the first show of the season, went over Dutchtown, then you beat Mandeville, and you played Southside in week 3. And, Southside, they have the new stadium. This is actually the first win in their brand new stadium. And Madison Prep, again, a great football team. Southside did lose to start the season against Notre Dame, but this is obviously a marquee win for Jess Curtis to get a win like that over a great Madison Prep football team that was really just a play or two short from really going to the state championship last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big game, big win for them. It's a really good Madison Prep team, and we talked about that the bracket that was won by Shaw. You talked about Madison Prep was just a couple plays away from getting to the state championship last year. They're another one of those favorites alongside St. Charles Catholic and obviously Shaw and U High and all of that to be one of those big state contenders. So Southside getting a really big win here, and Southside's going to be really good again this year. Of course, they're in the land of the Giants. They're in Division 1. So the competition is a little bit different for them, but Madison Prep, that's a tough win, and to be able to separate a little bit from them and it be a 2-score win, that also matters a lot. So yeah, absolutely, huge win for Southside. Definitely worth talking about a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. Big win for Jeff Curtis in the new stadium. That's a way to do it in your new stadium. South Terrebonne gets a 50-0 win over Hanson Memorial. Big win there for the Gators. This is fourth quarter. I'm not sure that's the final score, but Frederick Douglass, that will be a 14-0 win over Sarah T. Reed to get it done. Coach Mathern gets a big win over Sam Houston as well, 25-14. Salmon gets a 42-6 win over Bogalusa. Sacred Heart gets a 38-15 win over Bazille. How about this? I think Ruston had to win the football game tonight on a walk-off field goal against Longview, Texas, to get a win there. So the Bearcats, they played a lot of their opponents early this season against out-of-state competition, which they've done so in the past, and they're winning these games. So they haven't gone back really into the state of Louisiana and played their in-state teams, which a lot of teams will be nervous about. But walk-off field goal there. Coach Ball's really got this program rolling over there in Ruston, and I think there's a little bit of a chip on this. I said this before, but a little bit of a chip on this team's shoulder after losing like the way they did in the Superdome last year.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This team's going to be a monster this year, and it's almost like they crushed Acadiana in week 1, and then they went, this state's not good enough for us. Let's we need to find some actual competition around here somewhere else, and they just started getting games against out of. Obviously, that's not actually how that works, but it's kind of a funny anyway.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's they're really good. Obviously, I'm not going to pretend to know anything about Longview, Texas, and how good their football program is, but if they competed with Ruston, I assume, and they scheduled Ruston, I assume it's a premier matchup. So, obviously it's a big win for Ruston. And yeah, I agree. That's kind of the feeling I get from Ruston, that they're on a mission this year to prove that they're not defined by that Superdome game last year. So.
Yeah, big win there for Coach Ball over Longview. A good program over there in Texas. So Riverside Academy over a 5-18.
Yeah, that's tough to do. That's tough to do. I don't care how good your 1A school is, and I don't care how new that 5A program is. And to be fair, it is a very new 5A program, and it's a lot jumping into the deep end for Prairieville themselves. But 3-possession win over, and I believe this was uglier. Before I think they scored a little bit in garbage time. I might be wrong about that, but I think they scored a little bit in garbage time. I think it was even less close. I think it might have been 40-16. To kind of blow out a 5A school as a 1A school is crazy. That doesn't happen. You don't it doesn't matter. It doesn't happen. It's funny. The Calvary score is the only score I don't know of a major.
I do know. So Shane Henry wanted to ask, what was the Calvary score?
I just looked it up.
Big game between Calvary and Franklin Parish. Remember, Franklin Parish won that game last year. I'm about to put it in the comment section for Shane. I appreciate that question. But Calvary Baptist gets revenge from last year in a great football game, 33-30. Yeah, that's
another one of the games of the weekend that would have been fun to go to. Although I don't think either of us were for making that drive.
That's tough for the North Louisiana ones, but that's definitely a game I wanted to go to. But there's your answer, Shane. 33-30, Calvary over Franklin Parish. I'm still really high on this Franklin Parish football team over there, Coach Burnett. But I'm still obviously high on Calvary, even though they lost a lot of pieces last year. There's still a lot of talent. I called that Episcopal Calvary game last year in the playoffs, and they got dynamic players that were sophomores, juniors. So even though you lost a lot of your key guys offensively, you still have really talented players over there at Calvary Baptist. But a little bit of revenge there after that loss last year to Franklin Parish. But I'm sure we'll get to that score later on. But that was the victory there for the Cavaliers, big time win. So we're going to move ahead. Obviously, Alex, if you see any coaches come on, feel free to let me know. No problem, Shane. Appreciate your involvement with the show. That's what we want to do. We want comments. We want interaction with the fans. And that's where we also got the comments. You probably see them, but they're actually on the stream. So you can actually see your comments on the stream as we go. But let's see. We have Livonia. They get a 40-7 win over Port Allen. Big win there for Coach Cleo Thomas, former Catholic High Bear. If you remember, Cleo Thomas was actually a starting running back over Darius Geis once upon a time at Catholic High. And I think this went final. Of course, I covered the Episcopal Knights. This was a game I did not call for VSN, but I believe it was more high scoring than that. I'm gonna try to get to it because I think Episcopal scored in the 60s. I could be wrong.
Let's see if I can find it.
Oh, I found it. 66-57. Yeah, they scored a lot of points. So that score is actually not updated. 66-57 final score. Episcopal finally gets the win. They start off the season 0-2. They go on the road. Maybe they say, hey, that might be the end of it, Alex. It's like we had a good run with Jace, but if we went 0-2 with Jace calling games this year and we win without him, I think it's time to turn off Jace's mic. Hopefully that's not the case there for VSN. But Knights able to get a big win, 66-57. So I'll be back on the call there. Hopefully we get a win next week. They know they got East Feliciana team that did defeat Kentwood to start the season. Covington gets a 56-0 win over Booker T. Washington. So the Lions squad looking really, really sharp. They got that win over Franklinton a couple weeks ago. Well, actually, I think last week. Was a Jesuit. They get a big win after being E.D. White 27-24 last week. They won 52-6 over Bonneville. So the Blue Jays looking good. A team that could be a sneaky contender there in the Catholic League. Ascension Catholic gets a 43-7 win over St. Thomas Aquinas. A big win there for Coach James. They lost last week, so a little bit of a bounce back there for the Bulldogs in a big way over St. Thomas Aquinas. This was an interesting game that was on my radar too. Franklinton and Pine. Pine's been a quarterfinal team last couple of years. Caden Stock, if you haven't seen it, he was a Gridiron Football Player of the Week for Week 2. You can check that interview out at gridironfootballusa.com. We talked a little bit, because it was today, that interview. We talked a little bit about the Franklinton game. And Franklinton looking like why they went to the Superdome last year. They're going to still be pretty strong, obviously, this year. 29-14 win. A big game there in Franklinton, Louisiana, between these two programs and two really good football programs. So 29-14, big time win for Coach Salt and the Demons. And they're looking like they're still pretty sporty out there. You got Jacob Crane at quarterback, so you got a chance.
Wasn't this a rematch from the playoffs last year? Or am I misremembering?
I mean, I can double check. I know
I can pull it up real quick.
I know Pine has played a meet in the playoffs the last couple of years.
Is Pine a different? Let me.
Yeah, Pine's like Pine's like the 2A.
Oh, there are two different classifications. I was thinking.
Because that's the Division 1.
Yeah,
as well.
Oops.
I want to give a shout out to Chad Aguilar. So Chad's actually a big supporter of Gridiron football, and we love Mr. Chad and all his support here for Gridiron. His son, by the way, is electric. I mean, electric with a football in his hands. CJ Aguilar, only a junior coming up, but guy's Grambling offer. I was actually there at the Grambling camp at Elite, and he really balled out. Ran a 4.4, 40. Is really good with the ball in his hands, man. And he's going to be a fun player to watch. He's still only a junior, so he's still got another year left. But Livonia, I mentioned that earlier, Chad, 41-6, and 41-6 win for Livonia over Port Allen. So Livonia looking pretty decent start to the season. I think 2-1, I believe, to start the year. for the Wildcats. So good start to them. We'll give a shout out to Chad. I appreciate the comment there. And guys, I really appreciate the comments throughout the entire show
Absolutely.
too. Stephen Fitzhugh, Washington doing what they do, 56-0 over Delhi. Man, it doesn't matter. Just every single year, they're just so good. Coach Fitzhugh does an awesome job with that program. I mean, Mr. Consistency. No matter who's at quarterback, no matter who's, it doesn't really matter. They just crank up wins, and they're going to be in it. Once again, they're going to be in it for a state championship conversation. North Carolina gets a 14-6 win over Pickering. Lakeshore gets a 28-13 win over North Shore. So the Mandeville-Slidell rivalry right there. Lakeshore, Coach Indes gets a win over North Shore. Big win there for Lakeshore over a 5A opponent. We already talked about North Iberville getting a 2014 win over Ben Franklin. How about this win? North DeSoto getting a 39-28 win over West Monroe. Statement win there for Coach Dennis Dunn. Luke Delafield, one of the best quarterbacks in the state of Louisiana, has been playing since Moses parted the Red Sea. But basically, great win for North DeSoto over West Monroe. I know Coach Dunn's been really used to this rivalry when he was at Evangel, and it was Evangel West Monroe for all those years in the 90s, but still show he can get it done against the Rebels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a big game. This is a North DeSoto team that I feel pretty good about going into this year, and yeah, that's a big win. West Monroe wasn't quite their elite history this past season, but this is still West Monroe that we're talking about.
Yeah,
we have a new coach there, and so you have a new era, and yeah, so you're expecting this team to still be really good this year and be very competitive, and so yeah, this is still a really big win. It's West Monroe we're talking about after all. Yeah, great win for Dennis Dunn, right. And this is a North DeSoto team that's going to be really good.
We have North Central getting a 49 Prairie, so impressive win there by the Hurricanes, getting that job done. I'm going to try to check, but if Southwood, they've waited 46 games. They waited 46 games to win. They won last week against Arcadia. They can win 2 in a row right here, Alex. They're going to start a winning streak now.
They're going to win. They're going to win 46 in a row now.
Yeah, there we go. That's kind of like the confidence that we're looking at, Alex. Let's see, Southwood.
I'm gonna briefly answer James' question. Where is Rajon now? Rajon graduated, but
so if you go, actually, Alex, there's this great website. I'm not sure you've heard it or not. It's a pretty cool website. It's called GridironFootballUSA.com, and on this magical website, GridironFootballUSA.com, there is an article about Rajon Zeno, about his first college game at Millikan University. He scored 4 touchdowns to give Millikan University their first win since 2022. So,
oh my God,
what freshman for Rajon Zeno. So we talked about that score, Coach Lucas.
Yeah, we were talking about Jennings
earlier. I can pull it up. 26-14. So Jennings was able to get the victory, 26-14. Trying to see who they defeated. I know
Welsh. They beat Welsh.
Yeah.
They play someone big next week. I mentioned it earlier. It's late. I mentioned it earlier.
It's late, but we might finish earlier than we've ever had. Okay. They play Northwest.
They play Northwest next week. Yeah.
So, and Northwest is 0-3. So, I mean that's going to be interesting. I'm sure we'll get
desperation mode.
Yeah. All right. Early in the season, so we're going to go through some more scores. Obviously, Southwood. If anybody has an update on that game, the fourth quarter, but Southwood looks like they can. Okay, so That says 50-28. So I don't know what's exactly right.
I assume that's probably correct.
Yeah, probably so. Well, either way, it looks like they have Southwood.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting on. That's what I'm getting on GoPreps. Southwood's 50-28 over North Caddo.
Yes, Montgomery Elton. Nope, this is not a basketball score. This is a football score. 64-62. And as before we go to that game, James Lucas had Barack Zeno is up next. So
he is.
Not running out Zeno's over there at Jennings, which could be a great thing for Bulldogs fans. Maybe kind of like put like an Etienne brothers situation over there. The Etienne brothers at Jennings. Maybe it's the Zeno brothers coming up. But when you have a great quarterback at Montgomery, who's actually a Gridiron football All-American quarterback, and you got McKeelan Lemoyne at Elton, who is a fantastic running back, scored 6 touchdowns, ran for 330 yards. Expect the over to hit when you got these two.
Yeah.
So that's impressive. That's 2 games from Montgomery where they've scored more than 50 points and lost. So they are 1-2 to start the season. That's pretty crazy to me.
That's insane, man. And we thought that 23 LSU team, team was frustrating to watch. Can you imagine being a fan of this Montgomery team right now?
What more can you do on offense?
Yeah. Also, I mean, at this point, you joked about the over hitting, but I mean, maybe they need to set the next over at 130. At this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's coming. I mean, Mason Jordan is probably one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the state that nobody talks about. He is going to be one of our quarterbacks this year for our bowl game, and you can see that he's an all-state quarterback. Why he's been an all-state quarterback, and it's been a tough break, kind of like a Jaden Daniels situation, man. Like you mentioned,
yeah,
you have to score every time he touched the football. And sometimes I ain't enough.
Maybe he did. We lost by 2.
So Rayjon's up on the broadcast, 26-12. Rayjon wanted to reiterate that score. So Mr. 4 touchdown man, Rayjon, doing his thing for Millikan University. But really proud of Rayjon, and obviously played in our bowl game and looked great, when he had the football in his hands in that bowl game. And, I always thought he was an underrated player in the state of Louisiana last year and able to show off his skills. I mean, you got guys like Rayjon Zeno, Chad Elsie in that bowl game, like the running back position.
I think they were on the same. They were on the same team, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, they both were on the same team. So, and James, James Lucas is commenting in right now because that was really that quarterback running back backfield in that bowl game. Every time James Lucas came in, Rayjon Zeno came in. So it was kind of like the 1-2 punch there at quarterback and running back last year in that bowl game.
Yeah.
So Rayjon said that he plays defensive end. So Barack Zeno.
Yeah, I actually remember this when talking to their coach this offseason. Yeah, that's
Coach
what I thought.
Fuselier?
Yeah, Coach Fuselier.
So
I believe
defensive end. Yeah, going
He's
the
like
opposite, like the entire opposite of what your brother wanted to play. So
those must have been some fun Oklahoma drills growing up between the two of them.
Yeah, right. But 64-62, I mean, really great quarterback. Y'all got to watch him play. Mason Jordan's a fun player to watch. McKeelan Lemoyne from Elton. Keep an eye on this kid at running back. He still has another year left after this year. I'm sure he's probably going to be a guy that will invite to the bowl game. There's a good chance of that when he heads to senior year. How about North Webster edging out Minden 21-20 over the Crimson Tide, getting a 1-point victory there. Minden's been on the opposite end of some close losses this year. So that was another one right there. And the car. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Flexing their muscles once again, 63-0 over McDonald 35. McDonald 35, what can you do? I mean, and the car.
It do be like that sometimes.
So good, man.
It's
what can you do? I mean, what can you do with that? I don't even know. That's incredible. Leesville gets a 48-15 win over Manny. So the Wampus Cats get a big win over a Manny team that had a good start to the season. I believe they started the season 2-0. But Leesville, getting back on track with a win over Manny, and Leesville's still a good football team. I keep saying that. I was really impressed with the guys that show up to our media day at the beginning of the season. Coach Causey is a good coach, and I know that they have to replace a legend in Xavier Ford, but this is still a really good football team, and I know they will bounce back, and that was a good win, a confidence there for Coach Causey, 48-15. Let's see, Northwood Shreveport getting a 62-26 win over Mansfield. A big win there. Northwood scored a lot of points. I've noticed that too to start the season, so a big win there for Coach Brown. Mangum with a 48-0 win over Caldwell Parish. Lutcher and Liberty, if we have time, I actually might show the video here of the goal line stand. Actually, I'm going to try attempt number 2 at showing a video. I was actually at this game, Alex. It was a great football game. Zayden Foster for Liberty, he must have ran the ball 40 times. I mean, he had the ball in like every single time. Like Jimmy Zachary wasn't going to sugarcoat anything. He wasn't going to make it complicated for you. You knew who was going to get the football. It was going to be Zayden Foster, and I don't blame him. I mean, the guy is a load. He's fast. He's quick. I don't think a lot of people are sleeping on him this year. So he's going to be a good one. And then Lutcher had their really good plays as well. They got a freshman quarterback that's really talented. They have Jamayon Joseph, a really talented running back that's only a junior. So let's see here. I'm going to try to stop sharing screen to move this. And then share screen right here. So what happened, it was 27-20, and it's crazy how this drive was, Alex, at the end, because it was they had like 7 minutes left in the game. It's like 7 minutes left in the game. Liberty had they took like all 7 minutes off the clock to get them like a chance to tie the football game. They had 4th down and goal at the 2-yard line. What made things interesting on 3rd down, Alex, Zayden Foster got hurt. So it wasn't severe, but because there's an injury timeout, he had to be out for the next play, which was the 4th and goal at the 2. So here it is. This is, as you can see, 4th down and goal. 27-20, game on the line. That was your final score. So 27-20 off the goal line stand. And, I mean, really impressive win for Lutcher. After starting the season 0-2, to get a win, bounce back. It was kind of a crazy game, Alex. They started off really good offensively. They jumped out 21-7. And they scored all their points in the first half. They got shut out in the second half and were still able to hold on to a lead. There was a controversial ball in the game, which could have really put the game out, out of the way for Lutcher. And it was a muff punt by Liberty. and it was recovered by it looked like Lutcher in the end zone. It looked like it was a clear touchdown, but the referees actually ruled it a touchback for Liberty. So Liberty was able to keep the football, and yeah, it was crazy how that all transpired. But it was a
that shouldn't be possible in that situation.
But here you are, Alex. We're dealing with high school referees.
It should either. Unless. How is it? Unless it, but it should either be a touchdown or a safety, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't like a. Unless it did it touch? Like, did it not touch anybody until after it bounced into the end zone?
Yeah, I think I should go back and look at it. It's actually on our YouTube channel. I should go back and watch that play. But yeah, I really don't know. I'm still kind of dumbfounded. I thought it was sure a touchdown for Lutcher, but didn't cost him in the end. Able to get a goal line stand to preserve and win the first win of the season. So had to show that, obviously, because that was the game I was at Thursday. So if you want to know more about that game, you want to read more about that victory for Lutcher, go to our website, gridironfootballusa.com. So I'm actually going to go back to our score stream page and then go back to our scores there. But obviously that was a really good win there for the Lutcher Bulldogs, 27-20. Vermilion Catholic, they bounced back. I believe that was their first win of the season over Loreauville. So 29-26 win over Tigers. Vermilion Catholic, trying to find their offensive identity there without their guy Jonathan D'Artes, and still a big victory over there over Loreauville, 29-26. How about this? A 1-point win. Young Audiences Charter over Livingston, 36-35. How about that for a close score right there? LaSalle over Maryville, 30-22. We have Woodlawn of Shreveport, 62-0. Big win, impressive win over Lakeview. We have, moving on, a lot of some lopsided scores. Lakeside over Plain Dealing, 52-0. How about Lake Charles Prep? They've been in some interesting games this year. The comeback victory earlier this season against Barb. You have this shootout over Opelousas, 41-34. It's been an interesting start to the season for the Blazers. Lafayette over Mamou, 49-6. We have Kentwood getting their first win of the season against St. Helena, 46-30. Obviously, I'm going to ramble through these scores, but Alex, if you have anything that you want to interrupt, you can. Jonesboro Hodge, that game was reported earlier by Casey Ray, 42-27 comeback victory over there over Delhi Char. Big shout out to Coach Blake and Chip and the Tigers getting the victory. Maybe a Gridiron Football Player of the Week finalist there, Dakota Knox. John Eric, first victory as well for Coach Brooks over LB Landry, 14-13. Alex, I know you interviewed Coach Brooks before the season, so you got to start somewhere with a win.
Yeah, great start. They got the right guy, and it's a start for the season. Obviously, this will be a long road to John Eric's return, but it's a great start for that team. Absolutely.
All right. We talked about a lot of Jennings and Welsh throughout the stream. So I got the idea there, 26-14. Jeanneret, how about that over White Castle? A little bit surprising, too. 50-0 over White Castle. Jeanneret with a big victory there. Let's see. St. Michael, how about 3-0 for Coach Leger and the Warriors? Maybe all it took was to build a stadium and, you get rolling, right? 16-14 win over Struma to get yourself a 3-0 start to the season.
Wait. Let's talk about this for a second. St. Michael's, I mean, I'm not as familiar with this area as you are, but isn't that a really surprising result? St. Michael's beating Estruma? Like,
well, Estruma, you got to consider as well, Estruma has a new coach, a coach that's not the mayor of the city of Baton Rouge. A new coach. Yeah. You do have to replace a whole lot. Kyrie Paul was a lot to this Indians offense last year. You have to replace him, and still identity there. And I call it the St. Michael football team. They got some good players. I mean, Johnny McCarty is a dude. I mean, for sure at the wide receiver position.
The brothers, the quarterback, and I can't remember his name.
Yep, Livingston at quarterback. I mean, they got some good players, and they're a good team, man. So call that game. I mean, you were there too, so you saw it firsthand. You call that game as well. So
that's my point with this. That I think both of our conclusions from that was that maybe St. Michael's can make some noise in this district, this huge district with Plaquemine and Estruma kind of usually at the top, and they knocked off Estruma. That's step one. So we'll see if they can make things interesting against Plaquemine. That'll be a tough task, a really tough task against a really, really good Plaquemine team. But they've passed the first test in that district, so that's exciting for them.
Yeah, certainly. Guys, I know we got some guys tuning in. If you have some scores that you missed, want us to repeat, or want us to talk about, feel free to comment below as we're going to try to wrap it up with some scores here. Marksville gets a 20-8 win over Iota, and we have a good win for Coach Harper there and the Tigers. Holy Saber, you don't see scores. We see a lot of 64, 62s out there. We don't see much of the 7-6s anymore, but Holy Saber Menard gets a 7-6 victory over St. Mary's. The extra point was the difference there, but not your norm in this day and age, Alex.
No. Do we know it was an extra point, or could it have been 2 field goals?
It could have been 2-point conversion. Who knows? But that point after was.
Could you imagine? Oh yeah, the point after was the difference. That is true. Could you imagine, like, you're down 7-0? That's the score, 7-0. You drive down, you score a game-tying touchdown as time expires, and you go, you know what? I have faith in my offense. Let's go for 2.
Yeah.
And by the way, for the record, I'm not saying this is what happened here. I have no idea what happened here. I'm just enjoying the hypothetical of, like, the silliness of that situation of, like, look, I understand wanting to go out there, and because we're winners, we're going to go compete, we're going to go win. But in that context, I don't know, guys. I think maybe I'd trust my defense in overtime in that situation.
Yeah. I probably would. But never know how that game went. It could have been 6-0. St. Mary's and Holy Saint Bernard got a score late and got the extra point. So you never know what happened there. But defense was clearly evident in that game. Holy Cross, and they were a sleeper. Coach Watney was doing a good job there with Holy Cross. Their quarterback, man, is good. Jacoby Faria, Faria, he's really good. I went to John Kerr's camp. Actually, that kind of reminds me, I got sent his bowl game invite to the bowl game. We definitely want him in there. But he's really good. And Chalmette, over good Chalmette team. We're going to get out of them, Coach Tucker and the Owls. So 23-6, big win there. Good start to the season for the Tigers of Holy Cross. Here's that rivalry. Alex, this is actually the oldest state rivalry in the state of Louisiana. Haynesville and Homer. I'm actually kind of surprised. I realized that they were playing this early in the season. This is usually like a week 9, week 10. They're playing this week 3 to start the season, but Haynesville went big, 54-6. This is usually a really good rivalry game, close game between these two programs. But man, Haynesville made a statement tonight.
Yeah, geez. I wonder if it's like a weird scheduling quirk because they're like in different classifications this year or something like that.
That could not this year. Yeah, that's why you see like Port Allen and Bruley. That game that's always been usually towards the end of the season.
That's what the deal is. Homer's a 2A school this year. And Haynesville's 1A. So
right.
So it's not a district game.
Yeah, I mean they were in the Dome last year. Last couple of years, Isaiah Washington, who people forget is an LSU commit, is the quarterback on that team. So, yeah, Haynesville is going to be in the running for it. That's for sure. How about the St. John Eagles, man? The Ron LeJeune effect is in full hand there. But I do want to give a shout out to Mom because I did a show last time. And my mom was like, "Well, I'm not watching the show anymore, Jace, because you're saying I'm the son of a coach and everything." So, like, okay, I'm going to give you a shout out, Mom. So, I'm the son of a former director of religious education at Holy Family. So, I'm going to give a shout out to dear old Mom. So, that way she doesn't have to yell at me anymore. So, we're good. So appreciate Mom. We'll give a shout out to old Mom there. All right, let's see. But St. John gets a 36-34 win over Haynes Academy. PJ Sprunk is the head coach over there at Haynes Academy. We know Coach Sprunk, coach of Gridiron Football All-American Bowl game. It's going to be a tough battle, but St. John off to a 3-0 start. So really great start for Coach Trosclair, the head coach for the Eagles. And, St. John, I saw that North Iberville game last year, and St. John is tough, man. Like, their offense is going to be really good, and they're going to be a team to watch out for in single A. So keep an eye out there for the St. John Eagles Plaque.
We know they'll get tested. They're in Ascension Catholic's district, so they'll get a good game there. So
North Iberville. So there's going to be some good matchups. We'll see how good the St. John Eagles football team is moving forward. Park Lane gets a 42-0 win over Bowling Green down in Mississippi. Brother Martin got a win over a Mississippi team, New Hope, the New Hope Trojans. Good win for Coach Bonice and the Crusaders, 38-26. Rattling on scores, we also have Adams County Christian 29-20 over Silliman. James Lucas won that score. We talked about that earlier, but Fountain Blue gets a 36-6 win over Peabody. Kind of a rough start to the season. I think Coach Lucas is having he says, good show, guys. Good night, Coach. I know this is kind of wrapping up late, so we're trying to wrap up the last couple of scores here before we call it quits for tonight. Faraday looking really strong this year, man, 69-24. The Trojans are definitely going to be in that running for a state championship. ERAF, a big win tonight over Eunice, 35-16. Hammond won big tonight. Good win for Coach Buckles and the Tornadoes over East St. John, 37-7. Hammond's going to be pretty solid this year. We already talked to Coach Boyne over there for Hahnville. Gave his thoughts about the team, 28-7 over Edie White. You can watch that when the stream is over. St. Charles Catholic gets a win over Dunham, 27-21. Once again, talked to Coach Stein over there for St. Charles Catholic earlier, so if you want to go back and watch that, you can go back and watch that when the show is posted. You can go back and watch it after we go live here tonight. Newton over in Texas gets a 36-16 win over DeRitter. DeQuincy over Oberlin, 52-20. We had Roman Clark come on, our intern here at Gridiron Football. He was at the Denham Springs Woodlawn game. Well, more about that, go to gridironfootballusa.com. The Denham Springs with an overwhelming victory tonight over Woodlawn, 33-0. St. Paul's good win over De La Salle, 24-7. Really good win there. Ken Sears and the Wolves, big time victory over the Cavaliers, who looked pretty good at the beginning of the season. So a big statement for the Wolves. Raleigh over East Beauregard, 42-26. Como, 42-28 over New Iberia. Dutchtown, 62-0 over Collegiate. Big win there for Coach Mastretta. Let's see, Church Point over Rain. Big over Rain. And Rain has defeated Northwest this year, too. 46-16 here for the Bears. Big win there. How about this? 42-41, the Battle of the Lafourches. South Lafourche hanging on to get a 1-point victory over Central Lafourche. Big win for the Tarpons over the Trojans in that rivalry game. Thomas Jefferson over Centerville, 48-28. The Flyers, man, they have been flying. I mean, they've been scoring like 40 points and 50 points. They're scoring more and more. 70 next week. But Bryce Restovich, he's legit. I mean, nobody talks about him. Everybody talks about he plays in that Shreveport area with Pop Houston, but he's pretty good as well, slinging that rock for the Flyers. They've been really good offensively this year, 64-13. How about this? Two powerhouse programs, both 0-2. A team needed a win tonight. St. Thomas More got that win, 39-35. It's kind of crazy to think about these two Lafayette powerhouses, Alex, and both of them are 0-2, and that this is a must-win for one of these two teams. And it was STM that was able to go on top, 39-35. Any quick thoughts about this one, Alex?
Yeah, I was at this game last year, and it kind of shows you the development of Cole Bergeron, excuse me. Cole Bergeron over the course of this last year. St. Thomas More didn't score an offensive touchdown in this game last year. They lost 20-6. The only touchdown was a Brian Broussard scoop and score. And so to put up 39 on the Acadiana defense that, I mean, I'm sure they've lost some guys. They might not be the same quality defense they were last year, but still put up 39 points against still a really good Acadiana defense. That's impressive. That's really impressive. And so it shows just how far that offense has come over that last year. And we already knew that. We saw how it developed throughout the season. Yeah. They put up like 40 on Westgate. They beat Turlings, made it to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, they got rolling in district play last
year. They got rolling. But they're a good. He's developed. Cole Bergeron is the guy there, and but both of these teams were 0-2, but Acadiana played Ruston and STM played Catholic. I mean, let's simmer down on the panic button for these two teams. So they'll be fine. Even Acadiana at 0-3, they'll be fine. It's Acadiana.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a big win for STM getting. Obviously, it's always great to get that first win in the win column. So yeah, big win for them.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, I mean, STM, they lost to Catholic and Karen Crow. Acadiana, they lost to Ruston, and they lost to Zachary last week, and then you play St. Thomas More. So, I mean, that's a tough 3-game stretch, and I'm sure Coach Dotz is going to get back in track. So I want to press the panic button just yet on the Wrecking Rams. Let's see. How about this? Catholic Boycapee hangs on to a 36-35 win over Archbishop Hannon, holding on to a 1-point win. Catholic Boycapee, won district last year. It was kind of like a magical season last year, winning the district championship. So kind of that magic continuing here over a Hannon football team. It's been pretty scrappy to start the season. Mm-hmm. So 36-35 win there. Obviously, the game I was at tonight, we'll probably end the show with a quick interview with Hudson Fuller, but what I did after the game. But Catholic, this game was, you see 28-14 in the box score, but this felt way worse. Catholic was in control from start to finish. They went up to a 14-0 lead early on. And this was after turning the ball over on downs twice when they were driving. So it could have been 28-0 first half. Defense was suffocating. Those 14 points were on those last 2 drives of the game for U High. So it was really 28-0 for majority of the game. So, dominating fashion. U High drops to 1-2 to start the season. Lost to Rummel last week. Now lost to Catholic. Same thing there. 2 tough teams to lose to. And Catholic, once again, you talk about resume with St. Charles Catholic. How about the resume there for Catholic High? You beat Destrehan, you beat St. Thomas More, and now you beat U High. So very impressive to start the season. Zachary, big win over Acadiana last week. They get another big win over Karen Crow this time as well, 34-20. I was at that Karen Crow LCA game last week. It was back and forth between Carson Gursey and Chance Babineau, and then obviously Braylon Walker and Braden Allen for LCA. It was back and forth, fun game. The edge went to LCA towards the end with that game-winning touchdown, 4th and goal. But Karen Crow's a really good football team. But Yeah, 34-20. Just got a text from Coach Savoy at STM. Just seeing this, we'll do a better job in the future. Well, that would love to join you guys. No sweat, Coach. Big win tonight over Acadiana, and I'm sure we'll talk to Coach Savoy later on down the road. So big win, though, for these teams. A couple of big scores, Alex, because I know those are some big scores I rattled off all in a row. Anything that stood out to you the most?
Yeah, Zachary Karen Crow. Obviously, this is a Zachary team that was really good last year. It was a weird team last year, actually, in my opinion, because it felt like nobody really talked about them throughout the season, and they kind of went out, on a surface in a kind of quote unquote wimpy way. They went out in the second round and they lost to Catholics, and they ended up losing that game to Central in the regular season. So they disappointed, quote unquote. They finished third in their district because lost to Central, lost to Catholic, and then lost in the second round. And they were only the 14 seed. But they lost to Ruston, who ended up going to the Dome. We kind of all knew, circling that game going into it, that if they had won that game, they would have been one of the favorites to go to the Dome themselves. They barely lost to Central, who ended up winning the state championship game in a rain game. I was at that game last year. So this Zachary team was really good last year. We forgot about it a little bit. I forgot about it a little bit, but they were really good last year, and they're going to be really good again. It's Zachary we're talking about. They're Zachary. They're going to be awesome every year, and I think this Karen Crow team, they've got a really young quarterback in Carson Kersey that we talk about a lot for good reason. And we're still seeing kind of the start of his young career, but he's going to be really good as he continues to develop. And it's a tough test against Zachary, but that's a really good football team. So. I know we have a few scores left, but I'm going to go ahead and let you wrap things up over here as we
we'll do that. You get some sleep. I know we're in Homa. I'll take care of the rest, Alex. I'm sure we'll catch up next time on Ball in the Boot. Thank you so much for hosting the show with me, and it's been fun, man. And we're looking forward to keep on doing this every single week, and looking forward to the Tulane Green Wave tomorrow, right?
Absolutely. Big game against Ole Miss. I won't be able to make it to that game. Obviously, I'm here, so but big game at Ole Miss next week. You'll see my live updates on Twitter, and I'll post the game review after that. Might even see if I could put some thoughts up on the YouTube channel. We'll see how that goes. But I'm excited for that. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Absolutely.
Yeah, big statement game for the college football playoff for sure. They can get that win over Ole Miss.
Even being competitive would be
competitive. Yeah, I think we'll do a lot, because right now it looks like for that group of 5 team, it's either between right now Tulane or South Florida.
Tulane and South Florida are both in the American, and they don't play each other in the regular season. So if Tulane is competitive in this game, the spread is 12.5. So if Tulane covers, then let's just put it that way. If Tulane covers, then I think you can all but lock in whoever wins the American, be it Tulane, USF, or someone that beats one or both of them, like Memphis or whatever, is basically a shoo-in to be that playoff team at this point. So that would be the big deal for that game. Anyway, I'll let you finish things up. I gotta get going though.
Good night, appreciate you, Alex. Gridiron Football High School beat writer as well, Tulane beat writer. Thanks for so much, Alex, and we'll catch you next time on the show.
See you.
All right, that was Alex Allison, co-host with me. He's going to help me as we go through the show, especially early on. We get a lot of coaches. We have about 3 coaches coming on the show today. But I'm going to wrap up the rest of the show by giving out scores. Guys, if I'm going to also kind of look with our Facebook feed as well. That way I'll kind of monitor it that way. But if you have any scores that you want us to repeat, I'm going to try to be on here until about 1 o'clock, and I'll wrap things up. But if you want any scores or anything, or because we went through a lot of scores, if you have anything that you want to comment on, please do so, and I'll try to get to it. So I'm going to look at the screen here. Captain Shreve gets a 42-36 win over Natchitoches Central, 42-36. High-scoring affair there. Big win for the Gators over Natchitoches Central. We talked about this game earlier in the show. 33-30, Calvary Baptist gets revenge on Franklin Parish last year. Remember, the Patriots won that football game a season ago. Big win for the Cavaliers. Evangel Christian, they're going to score points. Peyton Pop Houston, the latest LSU commit, were able to outscore the CE Bird Yellow Jackets 43-36 to get the victory, move to 2-1 on the season. St. Martinville bounces back after a loss last week to Lafayette. They bounce back with a final score 35-7 over Breaux Bridge. We had Coach Pierce last week on the show after a win, but this time it is about Coach Kramer and the Tigers getting a big convincing victory over the other Tigers of Breaux Bridge. Logansport with a 40-12 victory over Bossier. Impressive win for Coach McGee and the Tigers. We have a forfeit from from Lake Arthur. They get a win over Bolton. Birchman's Academy 25-19 over Highland Baptist. Belle Chase, man. Belle Chase, very impressive. They are undefeated as well. They've been pretty dominant. Especially you shut out a South Plaquemines football team that is a defending state champion. No matter the level, I know Belle Chase, no matter what the level it is, it's still pretty impressive to get a win in that fashion over a team that's won a state championship the year ago. We have Rayville getting a 44-0 win over Bastrop. Thibodeau with a 40-0 win over Assumption. How about this rivalry game, Rummel and Shaw? I kind of elaborated when Coach Wayne Stein was on the show, but good win there for the Monica family. Rummel with a 29-0 win over Shaw. We talked to Coach Bachman at the beginning of the show. Alexandria able to get a 27-21 win over Destrehan. A very convincing win. Ash, once again, looking like one of the best teams in the state of Louisiana with a score of 27-21. Airline gets a win as well. Pretty impressive over Union Parish, 34-19 for Coach Scoggin. And the Vikings, I believe they are undefeated. I think the top of my head, I believe they are to start the season. Ascension Episcopal, 39-34 over Abbeville. Oak Grove, Hattiesburg, Mississippi, with a 36-7 win over Neville. Neville, tough loss there against a really good Oak Grove team. Is one of the top programs there in the state of Mississippi. The other Oak Grove of Oak Grove, Louisiana. A little bit of a battle there in Coushatta against Red River, but this is still a really good Red River football team that won district a season ago. So 42-36 there. Opelousas Catholic 47-6 over Port Barry. Big win there for Coach Mathern. Springfield gets a forfeit over Crescent City. And I mentioned earlier, Lutcher 27-20 over Liberty. You can go to, I was at that game. You want a recap of that game, go to our website, gridironfootballusa.com. Carroll with a 48-12 win over Arcadia on Thursday. LCA starting off the season at 3-0, 45-21 over Westgate. LCA looking like a championship team to start off the season. No letdown there after a battle against Karen Crow in week 2. Orangefield gets a 41-19 win over St. Louis Catholic. SAR Charter looking really good to start the season. They've had some blowouts, and this is another one over LaGrange, 52-0. Really, really good win there. We have Kinder over Rose Pine. Sorry, Andy. Your Eagles come up short, big fashion against Kinder, 52-0. Good win for Coach Reed. Bruley, I believe 3-0 the season against Terra, 48-0. Coach Schooler and the Panthers looking really strong to start the season. This was a big win for Ouachita Parish. Coach Lewis over the defending state champions of Sterlington, 33-23. Anytime, like I said, you get a win over the defending state champion is a good win to have. Grand Lake 48-14 over Oakdale. Speaking of defending state champions, Cecilia gets a 41-21 win over Northside. The defending state champions, after an 0-2 start, get their first win of the season. St. Edmund putting video game numbers. Nathan Stonberger is the state's leading passer right now, 60-0 over Morgan City. Kind of looking like last year, where St. Edmund's been putting a lot of points on the scoreboard. Big win for Coach Shiver and the Blue Jays. Lafayette Renaissance 55-0 over Ville Platte. Amite gets a 44-7 win over Independence. We have Parkway. I saw this on Thursday night too. That was a score that really stood out, with a 66-21 win over Houghton. Glenbrook gets a 53-32 win over Ringgold. The Arbonne Woods Charter gets a win over Grant, 49-34. HL Bourgeois gets a win over Central Catholic, 34-14. As you see, these are a lot of the Thursday scores. The defending state champion Catholic New Iberia Panthers win in convincing fashion against Patterson, 56-21. Buckeye gets a 1-point victory, 27-26 over South Beauregard. Beekman Charter gets a 34-0 win over Lincoln Prep. We have Barb defeating Northwest. Northwest off to an 0-3 start to start the season, 40-19. East Feliciana, I believe they are still undefeated. I got an interesting test up to play Episcopal next week, 47-26 over Albany. Aberson Side Academy gets a win over Varno, 32-22. West Jefferson over McMain, 40-0. Riverdale gets a win over Pope John Paul, 36-14. St. Martin's Episcopal squeaking out a win over Patrick Taylor, 42-41. And as you see, these are the rest of the scores. This is actually our final scoreboard, guys. We're going to wrap things up with 2 interviews. Like I mentioned, showed the goal line stand earlier, as I will remove the scoreboard here. But like I mentioned, I'm going to mention the 2 games that I was able to cover. 27-20. This was a Thursday night game. If you want to read more about it, go to our website, gridironfootballusa.com. A big win for Lutcher. They start off the season 27-20 victory over Liberty. It was a big win. I'm going to try to get the interview with Coach Dwain Jenkins. He talks about the win. We had a couple of coaches on the show. I'll try to bring Coach Jenkins on to talk about that game. But, yeah, this was a game that was really started by the offense, and then was finished by the defense. The offense got off to a hot start, and the defense was able to really show what they could do and get that goal line stand. I mean, that was kind of the thing with that. So here is Coach Dwain Jenkins with after the victory over Liberty Magnet, talking about the big win. It was a tough way to start the season, going 0-2, but you can't stop the Lutcher Bulldogs. Like they're still a great football team, great football program. So I'm gonna go share my screen, allow you to get the chance to see this interview. We have 2 interviews to wrap up the show, but this is Coach Dwain Jenkins. Got a chance to talk to him after the game against which was a good win over the Liberty Magnet Patriots.
Of course, I got to sneak in 1 or 2 more from you. But Coach, where you like to fight about this team?
Well, I just think it shows that you can win games, and we're capable of winning games both ways. In the first half, we came out offensively and put up a lot of points and moved the ball at will. In the second half, it became a defensive struggle, and our defense stepped up and answered the call whenever they needed to. I just thought in the second half, it shows a lot of maturity for a young football team to overcome the adversity that we saw. We got a chance to put that game away. If that's a muff punt that stays in play and we get the ball inside the 5, we can punch it in. We can end the game right there in a lot of ways. We don't get that call. I thought that was a big third down play where I think there were some guys that might have been a little bit beyond the line of scrimmage when the quarterback scrambles around and they're able to pick up a first down on that play, which could have ended right there as well. And then I thought we had a chance to put the game away, and we messed up a snap. We got the senior that he snaps a million times a day. He's been 3 years starter for us, and it just one of those things that slips out his hand in an unfortunate time. And you're just thinking that, well, all these things are kind of snowballing against us in the second half. Maybe it's not our night again tonight, but our guys continue to believe. And the thing that we talked about this week was just play the next play. Don't worry about the results. Just play the next play. And all we told them when we got down there on that 4th down play was, this is the next play. Just go win the next play. And we'll let the results finish how they are. And can't say enough about Quantez Joseph on that play. Quantez came into the week. He was a starting H-back. And we had an injury during the week, and he had to move back to tackle where he had played the last 3 years, and also had to pick up some time on defense. And then the biggest play of the game, that's Quantez Joseph making a tackle for a loss on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, kind of bookending things so the quick offensive scores early on, and your defense, and then things at the very end.
So how big is it just getting that first one in the season? Well, it's just we've got so many young guys that are having to play for us, especially in the skill spots. Everybody's going to mention Timmy because he's a freshman. But Johnny Jones didn't play football until this year. The kid that caught the touchdown right pass right before the half. He's been a basketball guy his whole life and had the opportunity. And I looked at him in the huddle and hey, Johnny, you can go get it? He said, I'm going to go get it, coach. And he went up there and just took it from somebody. So that's big for him. He's had some rough spots kind of throughout these first couple of weeks. He muffed the kick last weekend. It ended up being a big turnover against St. Charles. So he bobbled a kick here tonight and gave us the ball on the 7-yard line, but we responded and got out of it. We need him to be a confident football player because he can be a weapon for us. He's 6'4" and he can run.
One more thing about your running back, Jamal Joseph.
It was just great to get him going. Jamal is so much better, so good of a back. We had so much promise from him this year. We built him up last year to get to this point, like with Trenton Chaney. We played Trenton in the slot a lot, played Jamal in at running back because we knew coming into this year a quarterback was going to be going. Trent Chaney's been our best playmaker. He was going to be going. We're losing all those seniors. We needed somebody that we can count on, and we were trying to groom Fat for that position. And through the first 2 games, he just never got going. His longest rush coming in tonight was for 9 yards, and he really started ripping some off there in the first half. So it was good to see him get back. Hopefully his confidence is back, and we can ride him the rest of the way.
Absolutely, because congratulations on winning. I know the Bulldogs can be dangerous.
So that was Coach. That was Coach on that victory. If you want to read more about it, just put the link where it has highlights of that football game as well, 27-20. As I set up the final interview tonight from our basically week 3 show, which was obviously the game of the area in the Baton Rouge area, which was Catholic and U High. We'll have more recap when you wake up, I guess, this morning. It's almost 1 o'clock when we wrap the show up. We'll have more in-depth analysis of the Catholic U High game. But basically, as I'm pulling this out, it was a great performance for Catholic, especially especially after the last couple of years, right? I mean, you lose 2 heartbreaking games to U High, a team that's kind of like your arch rival in the Baton Rouge area. It does mean a lot for these players. They start off the game. I mean, they start off the season really tough. I mean, anytime you got to play teams like St. Thomas More, you got to play Destrehan. Now you got to play U High, and to really show that you, with that resume, go 3-0, feel good about yourself. You got another tough one next week. I know West Monroe lost tonight, but you still got some tough games ahead, and still to win that football game like you did. The final score doesn't really indicate how dominant Catholic was in this football game. It was 28-14. If you look at the final numbers, the final box score, but it was like 28-0. The last 2 drives of the football game were just the late touchdowns, but they also had a couple turnover on downs when they were really driving. It could have been 42-14. Dominant win for Catholic. We'll actually pull up Hudson Fuller. We had a couple interviews from coaches tonight. This will be the last one tonight. I was at this game. You can check out all our highlights tomorrow and a recap of this game. But here, at the very least, we'll have Coach Hudson Fuller talking about this game for the Bears. It was a big-time win over U High to move to 3-0 on the season. So here is Hudson Fuller talking about the Catholic High victory over U High. Big time win. You go 3-0. Joked with Coach Fuller that you don't have to come on the show. We got the interview done, and we'll be able to talk about it. So here is Coach Fuller talking about the win.
Both sides of the ball are working like that.
Yeah, for us, it's new week, new level, right? So every week we've got to see the things we can get better at and go and improve them. And so there's going to be those things on film tonight, even though we had a good result. And that's going to be okay.
Coach, just early on, I mean, you already put a statement early on after the 2 turnover and downs when the offense got going, defense was playing fantastic. Talk about really the start of the game in this first half.
Yeah, I mean, we a lot of tempo tonight, and so what's critical for that is being able to start the drive well, and I feel like we did a great job of that, and just kind of got the play volume up early in the game.
Thank you. Defensively, talk about how good they really played just from start to finish.
Just discipline is something we talked about all week. We want to be relentless and play with discipline, and you don't limit big plays like we did tonight without playing disciplined football. And so, great job by them. I mean, the sky's the limit for that group, and we got to keep getting better.
Absolutely.
The luxury of having y'all's backfield and knowing, okay, Jaden, go get it. Okay, now it's Justin, and being able to cycle through the guys that y'all are able to. How huge is that for y'all?
And I'd say the first thing that they do an incredible job of, and this is hard, is they feed off of each other, right? They don't necessarily like count carries and things like that. Right? And that's hard to do, and they do a great job of it. And so it's a gift as a coach to get to coach those guys, and it gives you a lot of options, and it's going to be critical for just our team, right? Like to win a lot of games through the course of the season, you've got to be able to run the ball, and you can't just do that with one guy. So it's a gift for sure.
How big was motivation just for this football team, especially after the last couple of years falling short?
I mean, for us, it kind of came down to how motivated can we be to just be ourselves, right? At the end of the day, that's the thing that we needed to do. Glad we can get that done.
What is this series like for you coming back over here and facing a place that you're obviously super familiar with? And a lot of, I mean, even if you hadn't been at UI before, a lot of energy and hype goes into this matchup and people talking and asking, I need to get in this game and all those things. What is it like for you to lead this team and make sure that their heads are where they need to be?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely feel like you got a responsibility to the kids to keep them focused, right? And that's that can be challenging, but at the end of the day, what a gift, I mean, how many high school kids would love to get to play in an environment like this? And so, we're thankful for it.
How important was it for the defense to bow up after the 2 fourth down stops? They took the momentum there.
Yeah, we felt really good about playing the field position game there, and so, I think it was just kind of one of those moments like nobody really blinked at not converting there because everybody knew what we were doing.
3-0 and the teams y'all played, I mean, Destrehan, St. Thomas More, now UI, just how much of a confidence booster is for your guys knowing that y'all defeated some of the best programs in the state already.
I've told these guys this for a while now, like they got a chance to do something special. It's a good feeling, but at the end of the day, like there can't be any relief, right? Like we go up to West Monroe next week at their place. We got MRA coming to us the next week, and then we start district where a lot of teams have improved and good programs. So we just got to keep it.
And that was the interview with Coach Hudson Fuller, talking about the game there, and it was a big time win for Hudson Fuller and the Catholic High Bears to get a win like that against a UI football team that might not be as dominant as they were in the past. They obviously still have a lot of talent. I mean, Lamar Brown, the LSU commit. And you have a lot of really good players, a really good backfield, Sage Ingram, Corbin Odell. We talked about those guys earlier. But, yeah, I mean, it's still a great victory there. I mean, as we wrap it up the show, appreciate everybody that's tuned into the show. This is something that we're pretty excited about, this Ballin In Da Boot show, obviously. So appreciate everybody that shared it out, commented on. Appreciate all the coaches that came on the show. Give all the coaches a shout out today for coming on. Coach Thomas Bachman from Alexandria. I mean, talk about great coaches. I mean, we were stacked with just the coaching talent that came on the show today. We have anytime we get Thomas Bachman from Ash, Hahnville head football coach, and he's still watching the stream. Appreciate Coach Boyne. He does an awesome job. That should be a great game next week. The two coaches that we respect a whole lot, Coach Boyne and Coach Tyler Lewis over at Terrebonne. That should be a great football game. I know Tyler Lewis is going to be our head coach this year for the bowl game, so we're going to be really excited about that and for him. But we'll probably speak to the winner of that game next week. But that'll be a big game in the state of Louisiana. So anytime you get Coach Bachman, Coach Boyne, get St. Charles Catholic head football coach Wayne Stein coming on the show early on. If you want to, we're about to wrap up the show, but if you want to go back and watch it all, we'll have timestamps. That way you can jump out to whatever you want to watch. Obviously, we had the 2 video interviews that we played ending the show as well. With Coach Hudson Fuller from Catholic High, and we also had Lutcher head football coach Dwain Jenkins talking about their wins, the games I was at this week. So I pulled up our website. Make sure to see it. We got a lot of great content. Here is our website, gridironfootballusa.com. Go check it out. A lot of great content. And coaches, if you're watching this, we're going to have our Gridiron Football Player of the Week nominations. They're going to come in tomorrow. So expect that text message you get weekly from me coming in tomorrow. So if you have a nomination for Gridiron Football Player of the Week, make sure to fill out that form out. Caden Stogner from Pine High School, he was our Gridiron Football Player of the Week in week 2. So we had a quarterback in Cooper Babin from Sandball, week 1. We had a linebacker, Caden Stogner, in week 2 when a Gridiron Football Player of the Week. You see the Lutcher game recap. We got a lot of great Diamond in the Rough school spotlights. You see my LSU coverage. LSU has a game tomorrow against Southeastern, so expect maybe a game preview on that tomorrow morning as well. So, nonstop. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm still talking about Louisiana high school football. That's how passionate I am about it. And this is something I really love ever since I got into business a couple years ago. Over 10 years. It's been kind of crazy since high school. But yeah, this is great. The show's been great. Alex, appreciate Alex for co-hosting the show with me. Roman for his game report tonight with the Denham Springs victory over Woodlawn. Once again, appreciate all the coaches, Coach Bachman, Coach Boyne, Coach Stein. It's great to have, 3 or 4 coaches a week on the show. Based on my final takeaways. So my final takeaways tonight, big win, obviously, for Catholic High. St. Charles Catholic, what a statement they had tonight against Elijah Haven and the Dunham Tigers. They're scoring all these points, but hey, don't count out the Comets. St. Charles Catholic, they're back. That is something that they proved tonight, that they are back. Big victory there. Obviously, Alexandria Ash, big victory tonight too. Those are just some of the takeaways from tonight that really stood out. A lot of great teams. There's still some teams that 0-3 that we really didn't expect. Going into the year, like Jennings. Not Jennings. Excuse me. Northwest being 0-3. Acadiana. Who expected Acadiana to be 0-3 to start the season? Now I'm not ready to press the panic button like I said earlier, but they will get it right. Trust me, they'll get back on track, get everything right. They'll be good. Coach Dotson's a good football coach. They played 3 tough teams to start the season. But obviously, a lot of scores. You can go back and look at all the scores we went over tonight. A lot of big scores, high-scoring affairs in North Louisiana, too, that really stood out. So another great show in the books, guys. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. We've been on live 2.5 hours. So another great show. Once again, thank you to all the coaches that came on and talked about their wins. We'll be back. Now, pay attention on Facebook. We'll post when we'll be live because obviously, I'll go cover a game on a Friday night, depending on the travel. I was able to do this one earlier than usual at 10:30. Sometimes to start at 11, sometimes to start at 10:45. So just expect probably like the earliest we'll be live on Facebook at 10:30. And this show will also be uploaded in the morning on Saturday as well. So if you want to go back and watch that show, you can. So make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure to go to our website, gridironfootballusa.com for all of our details. We have some Gridiron Football All-American Bowl game commit announcements, so make sure to check that out. Make sure to check out everything. Follow us everywhere. It's Gridiron Football. It's all football all the time, so you really expect it there. So thank y'all for watching. Another great week of Louisiana High School football. Week 3 is in the books, and looking forward to week 4 next week. Really going through this, guys. So thank y'all for watching. Have a great football weekend, and we'll see y'all next Friday night here on Ballin In Da Boot.